Chapter 873. These people knew that only a top-grade spirit-grade artifact could emit such an aura. This kind of artifact was already a top-grade artifact. Apart from the half-Earth-grade artifacts, it was the most precious spirit artifact. Under normal circumstances, only people from large factions would possess such a top-grade artifact. Ordinary martial artists, even third-level honorables, might not be able to obtain a top-grade artifact. One could imagine how precious a top-grade spirit-grade artifact was. At this moment, 2 top-grade artifacts had appeared in the main hall at the same time. How could the crowd not be tempted? Countless people's eyes burned with passion as they rushed toward the stone statue. However, in the chaotic battle, the scarred man used his third-level honorable martial artist strength to snatch the green sword. As for the red short sword, it was protected by Dongfang Fenghuang. However, the green and red swords were originally a pair of mother-son swords. They could only unleash their greatest power when combined. If they were separated, their power would be greatly reduced. How could the scarred man be willing to give up after obtaining the green sword? Therefore, he set his sights on Dongfang Fenghuang. They were determined to obtain the green and red mother-son swords. Moreover, Dongfang Fenghuang was extremely beautiful. It was difficult for them to raise her. Regardless of the reason, they would attack Dongfang Fenghuang. "Stinky girl, I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, you'll be in for a treat later." The scarred man's voice was cold. He was the leader of the White Sharks gang. His strength had reached third-level honorable martial artist. He was quite famous in the Blackwater River Basin. At this moment, he was about to attack, causing the entire place to tense up. Dongfang Fenghuang was trembling with anger. The other party was too shameless. Not only did he snatch the green sword, but he also wanted to snatch the red short sword in her hand. Did he really think she was easy to bully? If he wanted the short sword, he would have to exchange it with his life. Dongfang Fenghuang said through gritted teeth. In the next moment, the divine flames on her body danced and formed a phoenix shadow that enveloped her entire body. The power was terrifying. It swept out in all directions, causing the originally cold space to heat up. Countless ice melted rapidly in the surroundings, forming water droplets. Then, they evaporated and formed a white mist that covered the entire space. This scene shocked the surrounding martial artists. It seemed that the girl in red was not a pushover. However, the bald man sneered disdainfully. "Little beauty, I admit that you are very strong. I'm afraid no one can completely subdue you in a one-on-one battle. But no matter how strong you are, you're only one person. You absolutely can't escape from the palm of our hands." The bald man laughed evilly, then turned to look at the scarred man. "Boss, hurry up and make a move. Capture this chick so that we don't have to worry too much." "Yes." The scarred man nodded. He was originally a bandit, so he didn't care about the morals of the Jianghu, nor did he know how to fight alone. Moreover, this was a king's treasure trove. There were many treasures here, so he couldn't waste too much time here. He had to end this quickly. Seeing the scarred man nod his head, the bald man grinned. Then, his aura erupted. Insolent laughter reverberated in the surroundings. Everyone was shocked and shook their heads. The White Sharks gang was a notorious bandit gang in the Heishui River region. This kind of person would not care about anything. Now, it seemed that with the 2 gang leaders taking action, the red-clothed girl would not be able to escape. Dongfang Fenghuang gritted her teeth when she saw the 2 of them step forward. Her eyes were filled with determination. It would be difficult for her to deal with the 2 of them alone. However, even if she had to risk her life today, she would not let them have it easy. Thinking of this, she channeled all her spiritual energy. The flames outside her body became more vigorous. The red soft whip in her hand turned into a red dragon, roaring ferociously. The red short sword in her left hand also released a fierce aura. "Go! Let's do this!" the scarred man said coldly. Then, his body moved violently, and like an afterimage, he quickly pounced forward. The long sword in his hand danced, forming a green sword screen that quickly shrouded the area in front of him. The bulb man also roared and quickly followed up. He reached out his white jade-like palm to grab the area in front of him. In an instant, a terrifying energy spread out in all directions. The surrounding martial artists all retreated. Dongfang Fenghuang also shouted and quickly swung the treasured weapon in her hand. An earth-shattering collision sounded, causing the entire hall to shake. However, the combined strength of the scarred man and the bulb man was too terrifying. Dongfang Fenghuang could only hold on for a moment before she was sent flying. "Little beauty, I'm coming!" Hideous laughter rang out as the two figures quickly approached. "Am I going to die here?" Dongfang Fenghuang revealed a trace of sadness. She was ready to fight to the death. She would not let them have their way. In the next moment, she was about to burn her spiritual energy. Suddenly, the void trembled. Countless amounts of cold air condensed and formed an iceberg above the hall. It pressed down on the scarred man and the bald man. Although the iceberg was not big, it emitted a monstrous chill, causing people to tremble uncontrollably. The scarred man and the bald man suddenly raised their heads, revealing a trace of shock. Then, they roared and quickly attacked. Boom! A terrifying collision sound reverberated. The scarred man and the bald man were blocked, especially the bald man, who was forced back by the icy cold aura. "What? We're saved?" Dongfang Fenghuang's beautiful eyes were shocked. Looking at the iceberg that suddenly appeared, she breathed a sigh of relief. In front of her, the blue iceberg blocked the scarred man and the bald man. "Who is it? How dare you interfere with the White Sharks gang's business? Come out and face your death!" The bald man was pushed back and roared madly. The scarred man's expression was also cold, his eyes looking around. "Who are you sneaking around? Come out! Hee hee, what White Sharks gang? Shameless indeed! Two big men bullying a little girl. Is your face grown on a dog's body?" A sharp voice of mockery rang out and reverberated throughout the hall. Everyone was shocked. Not many people dared to say such things to the White Sharks gang. That mysterious person was really bold. The White Sharks gang members were also infuriated as they clamored. The scarred man and the bald man's expressions were gloomy. Their bodies emitted a cold, murderous aura that swept across the hall. "I don't care who you are. You're dead for interfering with the White Sharks gang's business." "Is that so?" That voice sounded again. "But I think the ones who will die will be you." In the next moment, a figure appeared on the iceberg. It was a handsome young man. He sat on the iceberg and sneered as he looked below the White Sharks gang. "Kid, it's you!" Seeing the other party, the scarred man and the bald man's pupils shrank as they cried out in surprise. But when they saw that the other party was alone, they sneered again. "Lin Xian!" Dongfang Fenghuang also cried out. Her worried expression was replaced by joy. She didn't expect that it was Lin Xian who saved her. Lin Xian appeared in front of Dongfang Fenghuang in a flash. Looking at her pale face, he asked softly, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." Dongfang Fenghuang shook her head and said in a low voice, "If the two of us work together, we should be able to break through their siege. When I meet up with Senior Sister Bing Ling and the others, I will definitely take my revenge. There's no need to wait for them. I'll avenge you now," Lin Xian said with a smile. Then, he turned around and looked at the White Sharks gang members. His expression turned cold. "Leave the treasured swords you took and hand over your storage rings. Then I can spare your lives. As for the two of you," he stared at the scarred man and the bald man. "If you want to live, then destroy your own cultivation." Chapter 874. Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists were in an uproar. All of them widened their eyes in disbelief. Many of them even suspected that their ears were damaged. A young man dared to threaten the White Sharks gang? Was his brain damaged? They thought that some powerful figure had arrived, but it turned out to be a lunatic. If that was the case, the White Sharks gang would suffer a miserable fate next time. Many people shook their heads. On the other side, the White Sharks gang members were furious. All of them stared at Lin Xian and roared crazily. They could not wait to kill him. On the other hand, the scar-faced man and the bald man laughed crazily as if they had heard the funniest joke ever. Kid, if all of your companions were here, we might not be afraid. But now that you're alone, how dare you speak such big words? You're courting death. The two stopped laughing and their gazes turned cold. You're the first one who dared to threaten the White Shark's gang. I'll let you know that there are some words that cannot be said. You'll have to pay the price for saying them. The scar-faced man stared at Lin Xian with a strong murderous intent in his eyes. Kid, how dare you meddle in the affairs of the White Shark's gang? I'll let you know what it means to wish you were dead, the bald man said fiercely. The two of them were furious and filled with murderous intent. It was obvious that they wanted to kill. The White Shark's gang had been fighting in the Blackwater River Zone for so many years and no one had ever dared to look down on them. But now, a second Sky Honorable Realm kid dared to provoke them. He was courting death. Second brother, you go and stall that stinky girl. I'll take care of this stinky kid myself, the scar-faced man said coldly. Don't worry, boss. I can still do this. The bald man nodded. He then looked at Eastern Phoenix and revealed a sinister smile. Be careful. Eastern Phoenix's beautiful eyes showed a trace of worry. Don't worry. They can't hurt me. Lin Xian smiled. His smile was filled with confidence. What shameless boasting! I'll let you know my true strength in a while. The scar-faced man took a step forward and his aura rapidly increased. The green sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light like a green moon. It was extremely cold. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. I can only say that it was a very foolish decision to make a move. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, completely ignoring the murderous look in his opponent's eyes. The surrounding cultivators were also shocked as they shook their heads one after another. In their opinion, a young man at the second sky of the Honorable Realm who dared to challenge the scarred man was undoubtedly seeking death. The knife-scarred man revealed a sinister smile as he looked at the young figure. He licked his lips with his scarlet tongue as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. His reputation was not undeserved. In these years of fighting in the Blackwater River, many powerful opponents had died in his hands. There were at least 80, if not 100, little brats like him. He knew that these people were all young geniuses, and all of them had their eyes at the top of their heads, and didn't put anyone in their eyes. However, he had been fighting all year round, and his experience and strength were extremely powerful. He definitely wasn't someone a little brat could compare to. In the next moment, the scar-faced man brandished his sword and slashed out. The sword chi turned into a huge shark that quickly rampaged through the void towards Lin Xian. This was an attack that belonged to a third sky of the Honorable Realm. In addition to the power of a top-grade artifact, this attack was extremely powerful. Everyone was shocked and retreated one after another. They felt that the shark had turned into a real demon king that was emitting a terrifying aura. Looking at the shark's sword chi that was rushing towards him, Lin Xian's eyes also focused. A cold chill quickly gushed out from his body. A blue aura surged and covered his body, forming a ball of blue light. At the same time, the cold aura that was released caused the temperature of the entire space to continue to drop. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian activated the cold aura and the great dragon sword soul, striking out an ice phoenix. Buzz! The blue aura surged and quickly condensed in the void, forming a huge ice phoenix. The huge body emitted a cold aura that covered the entire hall. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Even the void couldn't withstand it and started to tremble violently. In the next moment, the blue ice phoenix collided with the shark's sword chi. Boom! This attack was extremely terrifying. The crisscrossing sword chi intertwined and created a shocking explosion. The void shattered, and countless cracks appeared on the ground, spreading out in all directions. A terrifying gust of wind swept in all directions, causing everyone to be unable to open their eyes. When everyone regained their vision and looked over again, they took a deep breath and their eyes were filled with shock. A terrifying deep pit appeared in the center of the area. The scarred man and Lin Xian were standing on both sides of the pit. The two of them didn't seem to have suffered any injuries. This kid can actually withstand the attack of a third heaven supremacy? How is that possible? Countless people gasped in disbelief. One had to know that although the difference between a second heaven and a third heaven was only one heaven, the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to break through such a level of suppression. Only peerless sky prides could challenge someone of a higher level. The handsome young man in front of them was also a sky pride. At the thought of this, everyone's mouths and tongues went dry. They were greatly shocked. Even the members of the White Shark's gang were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. The scarred man was also stunned. Then he sneered. Sky pride? No wonder you were so arrogant. However, you're unlucky to have met me. I've even killed sky prides before. Today, I'll use your blood as a sacrifice to my newly obtained sword. Humph, a third heaven supremacy is nothing to me. At least you don't have the right to be arrogant in front of me, Lin Xian said proudly. His eyes flickered with confidence. Before this, he had already killed a third heaven supremacy. Now that he had a second martial soul, his strength had greatly increased. It wouldn't take much effort to kill his opponent. Moreover, time was precious in the king's treasure. He didn't want to waste any more time. Therefore, Lin Xian summoned his Ice Lotus martial soul. The space in front of him fluctuated. A blue lotus quietly bloomed, emitting a chilling aura that made one's soul tremble. With a wave of his hand, the blue lotus was raised into the air. It quickly grew in size and formed a huge shadow. It was like a giant blue mountain that floated above everyone. The blue aura surged and quickly descended. Every single one of it made people tremble. The scarred man's pupils shrank when he saw this. His heart sank. His opponent's strength made him wary. In the next moment, he summoned his martial soul as well. A white shark jumped out from the void. It opened its bloody mouth and let out a roar that shook the heavens and earth. However, Lin Xian didn't care about his opponent's actions. His fingers moved and quickly formed a seal. Then, he blasted it forward. In the next moment, the lotus in the void rotated. The 9 petals trembled and formed 9 rays of blue aura. Each ray condensed into a blue ice sword that emitted an extremely strong sword chi. Ice Lotus, sword formation! With a low shout, Lin Xian waved his hand. The giant blue ice lotus in the air trembled. 9 ice swords quickly pierced out and tore the void apart in an instant. Chapter 875. The terrifying sword chi rolled over, emitting a supreme energy that seemed to be able to pierce through everything. White Shark Slash! The scarred man roared and raised his strength to the maximum. Together with the White Shark martial soul behind him, he quickly slashed out with his sword. Boom! In the next moment, the 9 streaks of sword chi collided with Su White Shark. An extremely powerful energy wave exploded and swept across the surroundings. The cold light of the sword chi swept out, and the entire hall was shaken violently by the terrifying impact. You want to compete with my martial soul? Go to hell! The scarred man sneered. Once again, a surge of chi gushed out from his body and poured into the White Shark martial soul. Instantly, the White Shark martial soul emitted a silver light and formed a powerful impact. However, he was still no match for the 9 ice swords in the empty palace. These ice swords were formed by the Ice Lotus martial soul and contained the power of the Great Dragon Sword soul. It could be said that the attack was extremely powerful. Such power could definitely tear through everything. Therefore, in the next moment, the two did not last long before the huge White Shark martial soul was pierced through by the ice swords. With his martial soul damaged, the scarred man suffered a backlash and spat out a mouthful of blood. His miserable voice reverberated as he was sent flying and slammed into the wall behind him. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the scarred man, who was at the 3rd heaven of the honorable realm, to lose to a kid at the 2nd heaven. This was too shocking. It was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Especially the gang members of the White Shark's gang. They all looked up in horror. The scarred man was their gang leader. In their eyes, he was a godlike existence and had never been defeated before. But now, he had been defeated. Moreover, he had been defeated by a youth whose cultivation level was lower than his. This scene was like a bolt of lightning that struck them unconscious. Even the bald man who was fighting at the side cried out in horror. He could not believe that his big brother had been defeated. Dongfang Phoenix was also shocked. Although she knew that Lin Xian had defeated a third heaven honorable realm, she was still shocked when she saw it again. In the void, Lin Xian looked at the injured scarred man on the ground and sneered. His palm moved and quickly formed a seal. The blue lotus in the void rotated again. Clearly, he planned to continue attacking and kill his opponent. The scar-faced man crawled up from the ground and quickly suppressed the injuries in his body. A similar look of shock appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, he saw that Lin Xian was about to continue attacking, and his heart trembled violently. "Damned brat, I'll kill you!" He roared at the sky as if he had gone mad. It was too sullen, too much of a failure. He was the leader of the White Sharks gang, a dignified third-layer venerable. Yet, he couldn't even win against a young brat. It was truly shameful. With a furious roar, he once again activated the green sword in his hand and charged forward. The green sword she shot out like a mountain, like a green river, quickly falling down in the air. At the same time, he roared angrily and quickly swallowed a pill to fuse with the injured white shark martial spirit. Roar! A terrifying roar rang out, shaking the entire area. Then, a shocking killing intent spread out. The scar-faced man's aura suddenly skyrocketed, much stronger than before. Furthermore, his entire appearance had changed. White scales appeared on his body, and a gigantic silver fin appeared on his back. His originally thin face now had 2 fish gills, making him look extremely ferocious, like a merman. Lin Xian frowned. His opponent's aura had skyrocketed so much that even he was a little shocked. His ability to fuse with his martial spirit also surprised him. "Little bastard, die!" The scar-faced man roared angrily and pounced forward like a demon king. Boom! The ground couldn't withstand it, and abyss-like cracks appeared. A terrifying aura enveloped the entire space. "Big brother has fused with his martial spirit, haha! Brat, you're dead meat! How dare you provoke the White Sharks gang? No one in this world can save you!" Beside him, the bald man laughed loudly when he saw this scene. "Lin Xian, be careful!" Dongfang Phoenix was also shocked because her opponent's aura was too strong, far stronger than before. "I'll take care of him now and snatch the green sword for you," Lin Xian said in a deep voice. In the next moment, his body shook, and like a ray of light, he rushed out. On his body, the red lotus armor condensed, forming a bright red armor that covered his entire body. "Dragon catching hand?" He stretched out his palms, and an icy aura surged, forming 2 ice dragons that quickly spiraled forward. The ice dragons roared and tore through the void, arriving in front of the scar-faced man in an instant and binding him. Traces of icy aura quickly spread, forming a frost zone. Soon, the scar-faced man's speed slowed down. His entire body was covered with a thick layer of ice, and even his movements became sluggish. "You're courting death. Open!" He roared angrily, and the spiritual energy in his body exploded. With a terrifying force, he shattered all the ice. At the same time, he opened his mouth and spat out a ball of light that quickly rushed out. The ball of light was so fast that it sent Lin Xian flying. "Ha, brat, how dare you go against me? This is your fate!" Seeing that his opponent was hit, the scar-faced man laughed loudly. His voice was filled with arrogance and pride. The disciples of the White Sharks gang behind him cheered to their heart's content again. The surrounding martial artists shook their heads and sighed. Sure enough, the scar-faced man was not to be trifled with. To be able to become the leader of the White Sharks gang and stand tall for so long, he definitely had a secret manual that could save his life. It seemed that the young prodigy was too careless. "Hee, little beauty, your companion is already dead. You should obediently allow yourself to be captured." The bald man also had an evil smile on his face. Second brother, why are you wasting your breath on him? Hurry up and capture him. Once we complete the set of the rainbow dual swords, our strength will increase greatly, and we will be able to obtain more treasures here. The scales on the scar-faced man's body flickered, and he looked like a murloc. Dong Fang Phoenix's face was pale, but her beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Even if she were to die today, she would drag one of them down with her to avenge Lin Xian. Is this your strength? You're really nothing much. Suddenly, a mocking voice was heard, clearly reaching everyone's ears. What? That brat is still alive! Hearing this voice, everyone was shocked and turned their heads to look. Dong Fang Phoenix's face was also filled with joy. That's great! Lin Xian is still alive! The scar-faced man's body also stiffened, and his face was filled with disbelief. Not dead? How is this possible? He quickly turned around, and his eyes were filled with coldness as he stared ahead. This brat is really lucky. He can't even be killed? The scar-faced man's expression was cold. He decided to strike again, and he must shatter his opponent. He opened his bloody mouth slightly, and a ball of white energy quickly condensed. However, when he saw the figure in front of him, he suddenly froze. The white ball of light that had condensed into the size of a fist also quickly faded. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! The scar-faced man shook his head frantically, and his face was filled with shock. He could not believe what he had just seen. Chapter 876. The bald man also cried out in alarm, and his expression was filled with boundless fear. Impossible! How can you not be injured at all? It was too shocking. The energy ball just now was enough to kill a third heaven honorable. However, the other party was not injured at all after being hit head-on. It didn't make sense. Nothing is impossible. Your attack was too weak and couldn't break through my defense. Lin Xian stepped on an ice lotus and floated over quickly. Next, it's my turn to attack. His voice suddenly became sharp, and his expression was cold. In the next moment, a powerful sword aura exploded from his body, as if it could pierce through heaven and earth. What? What a powerful sword aura! Could he be a swordsman? Everyone was shocked and looked at the void in a daze. Originally, when they saw the other party using an ice martial soul, they thought he was an ice-type martial artist. However, at this moment, a powerful sword aura suddenly surged from his body. This was clearly a sword aura that only a powerful swordsman could possess. Swordsman, he was actually a swordsman. The scarred man's face was also filled with shock, and there was a trace of fear in his expression. Among all martial artists, swordsmen were famous for their powerful attacks. He didn't expect the other party to be a swordsman. Furthermore, from the aura of the sword aura, he was definitely a terrifying swordsman. Wait, I admit defeat. I'll give you the cyan rainbow sword! The scarred man suddenly shouted. We were wrong this time. I apologize to you and return the cyan rainbow sword. Furthermore, none of you are injured. Why don't we stop here? Anyway, there are many treasures in this king's treasure. Why should we fight over a treasure aura and waste our time? The scarred man said in a deep voice. What? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe their ears. The dignified leader of the White Sharks gang was begging for mercy? The bald man also retreated and came to the scarred man's side. He gritted his teeth and said, Big brother, why do you have to do this? Why don't we fight it out with them? Shut up, what do you know? The scarred man shouted and then squeezed out a smile. I'll give you the cyan rainbow sword now. He waved his arm and threw the cyan rainbow sword in his hand to Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, the White Sharks gang members were stunned. They didn't expect their gang leader to really beg for mercy. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and caught the sword. He played with it for a while before throwing it to Dong Fang Fenghuang. Lin Xian, thank you very much for this matter. I owe you a favor, Dong Fang Fenghuang solemnly said as she received the green sword. It's nothing, Lin Xian said with a smile. Then, He turned to look at the White Shark's gang again, thinking about how to deal with these people. Seeing Lin Xian's gaze, the knife-scarred man's face stiffened. He then lowered his head slightly, but his eyes were spinning rapidly. He kept shouting in his heart, just a little more time. As long as he waited for them to arrive, he would be able to make a comeback. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the hall, and the ground trembled slightly. It was as if quite a few people were rushing over. Hearing that voice, the scarred man's face lit up, and his eyes lit up. In the next moment, he took the bald man and retreated quickly. Once again, he laughed sinisterly. "Brat, don't think that this matter is over. Next, I'll let you know the consequences of offending the White Shark's gang." Lin Xian frowned. The other party's unpredictable changes made him suspicious, but in the next moment, he understood. Because at the entrance, another group of people walked in, and they had a thick blood aura on them. Walking at the front was a burly man with a full beard. He had a strong aura, and every step he took made the ground tremble. Behind him, there was a huge purple blade on his back. "It's the Frenzied Blade Gang! They're here too!" Seeing the group of martial artists, countless people exclaimed, and their eyelids twitched. The Frenzied Blade Gang has a good relationship with the White Shark's gang. They must be here to help the White Shark's gang. No wonder the knife-scarred man acted like that. He was trying to stall for time and wait for reinforcements. Seeing the people from the Frenzied Blade Gang, the bald man and the rest of the White Shark's gang laughed maniacally. Their eyes were filled with madness. They were too excited. The Frenzied Blade Gang was one of the bigger forces in the Blackwater River, and their strength was no weaker than theirs. Moreover, the relationship between the two parties was very good. With them here, they would definitely be able to get rid of that despicable brat. Despicable! Despicable! Dongfang Phoenix was so angry that her face turned pale. Lin Xian's face was also gloomy. The other party had actually called for reinforcements to attack them. It seemed like he would not be lenient this time. "Haha, brother Lu Fei, are you all right?" The burly man with a full beard laughed. His voice was deep, and it caused the air to tremble. "I'm fine. I was careless this time and suffered a loss. However, with Brother Frenzied Blade, we can definitely kill that brat." The burly man with a full beard was called Frenzied Blade. His Frenzied Lion Blade technique was very fierce. At the same time, he was also a third-level honorable realm. The scarred man, Lu Fei, believed that if the two of them worked together, they would definitely be able to kill that brat easily. At that time, not only would he seize the Qihong Mother Sword, but he would also let Lin Xian know what it meant to live a life worse than death. "Brat, how dare you offend me? I'll let you know what regret is!" The scarred man, Lu Fei, looked at Lin Xian with endless madness in his eyes. On the side, the bearded Frenzied Blade also stepped out. His aura was sharp, as if a heavenly blade had appeared, and it suppressed the surroundings. When the two third-level honorables worked together, the momentum created was extremely terrifying. The air in the entire hall seemed to have condensed, and it was extremely oppressive. The surrounding martial artists retreated with pale faces. Under such pressure, even breathing was difficult for them. If the surrounding people were in such a state, one could imagine how much pressure Lin Xian and Dongfang Phoenix were under. Lin Xian was still fine. He had the great dragon sword soul and could withstand the pressure. However, Dongfang Phoenix's face was slightly pale, and her forehead was covered in sweat. Seeing the situation, Lin Xian wanted to reach out and pull her over to share some of the pressure. However, in the next moment, a wave of energy exploded from Dongfang Phoenix's body. On her delicate body, flames danced and suddenly expanded, turning into a flaming phoenix. It enveloped her, and with a flap of its wings, it directly tore apart the huge pressure. At the same time, a wave of pressure also came from Dongfang Phoenix's body, causing people's hearts to tremble. That aura was not inferior to a third-level honorable realm at all. "This is the power of the bloodline!" someone exclaimed, and his face was full of shock. "The power of the bloodline?" The scarred man, Lu Fei, and frenzied blades' faces darkened, and their expressions turned grave. They did not expect that the other party had hidden such a move. However, so what? Their strength was not as simple as releasing pressure. Even if the other party had the power of the bloodline, they were not afraid. Lin Xian was also shocked. He was the closest to Dongfang Phoenix, and he could clearly feel the power of the bloodline. That surge of power was simply too powerful. Chapter 877. Dongfang Fenghuan used her bloodline power and unleashed a powerful force that shocked everyone around her. On her body, a huge shadow of a phoenix swayed, carrying with it a monstrous flame. Lin Xian also focused. Sword chi gushed out from his body as if it was a peerless divine sword that could destroy everything. Four powerful forces collided and instantly tore the void apart. A terrifying force spread out in all directions and swept through the entire hall. Buzz! A low sound came from the hall as if something had awakened. A cold aura gushed out and spread out in all directions, making people tremble. Lin Xian and the others were also stunned. They stopped fighting and looked around cautiously. They also felt threatened. Boom! A crimson light lit up like a lamp in the dark, instantly illuminating the entire space. It's alive! In the distance, someone exclaimed and trembled. He pointed in a direction of the hall with a horrified expression, as if he had discovered something terrifying. Everyone looked over and sucked in a breath of cold air. Their faces were filled with shock. The female stone statue in front of them suddenly opened her eyes. Red light bloomed from the stone eyes as if she had come to life. Not only her, but the other stone statues around her also did the same. Several gazes met in the air with a mysterious and eerie aura. Who dares disturb the cemetery of kings? Trespassers of the cemetery of kings, die! A cold voice sounded without a trace of emotion, which made people shudder. Scar and Quang Dao's expressions were grave as they stared ahead in bewilderment. Lin Xian also frowned as his eyes flickered. These stone people are alive? Dongfang Fenghuan was also shocked. She did not expect such a situation. Lin Xian did not say anything, but his brows were tightly knitted. Kid, run! At this time, the Crimson Dragon sent a voice transmission. It did not explain anything, but its voice was extremely solemn. Lin Xian's pupils shrank and his heart trembled violently. He had never seen the Crimson Dragon with such a solemn expression. Let's go! The next moment, he pulled Dongfang Fenghuan and retreated. Just as he moved, the cold voice sounded again. Trespassers, die! Then black fog gushed out from the stone statues like dark clouds, covering the sky and covering the sun. In an instant, it filled the entire sky. Roar! Shrill cries rang out from within the black fog. Countless crimson eyes lit up from behind the trees, filled with bloodlust as they looked at the crowd below. Boom! The black fog exploded and turned into black monsters that pounced down. Ah! For a time, countless screams sounded. All the martial artists who were touched by the black fog were severely injured. Those who were unlucky died on the spot. This sudden turn of events shocked everyone. Run! Monster! Countless people screamed as they ran outside. However, they were still a step too late. The entire hall was sealed. The martial artists closest to the stone statues bore the brunt of the intense attacks. Boom! Bang! Scar and Frenzied Blade were also attacked. Two balls of black fog rushed towards them, and black arms reached out to grab them. It was as if they were reaching out from hell. Scram! Frenzied Sword roared as he pulled out the purple saber on his back and slashed at the black fog. Damn it, what the hell is this? Scar's expression was ugly. He did not expect such a strange thing to happen in the hall. F***CK, this is so strange. He sent a black monster flying with a punch as he cursed in a low voice. Didn't you say there was a treasure? Where is it now? Frenzied Blade's expression was gloomy. It's in the hands of that girl. As long as we catch them, we can get it, Scar said. That's a top-tier spiritual artifact. It's absolutely precious. Why don't we catch that kid first? The two discussed and decided to make a move amidst the chaos. Lin Xian brought the Eastern Phoenix to the edge. He had been warned by the Crimson Dragon in advance and had retreated first, so he had not been attacked until now. However, this situation could not last long because the black fog in the hall was increasing. It had almost covered half of the hall, and the entire hall was sealed. At this rate, it would not be long before they were targeted by those strange black creatures. "Damn it, what is that black fog?" Lin Xian asked. "Death Qi. It's something produced by the corpse of a powerhouse after they die," the Crimson Dragon said. "Kid, let's go. I feel that there's a big guy here." "Big guy?" Lin Xian's mouth twitched as he prepared to leave. However, at this moment, Scar and Frenzied Blade flew over and blocked the path. "Kid, hand over the rainbow sword!" Frenzied Blade snorted. "I'll let you know the consequences of offending me," Scar sneered. "Idiot!" Lin Xian scolded. He was not in the mood to fight with these two. If the Crimson Dragon was telling the truth, then he was in a dangerous situation. "Don't fight with them. Find a chance to leave," he whispered to the Eastern Phoenix. "Okay." The Eastern Phoenix nodded. Although she had used her bloodline power and her strength had greatly increased, she was still a girl. She was afraid of such strange things. Dongfang Quangren's body flickered as he tried to leave. "Want to leave? Stay here," Frenzied Blade sneered. He already knew that the top-grade spiritual artifact was in his opponent's hands. How could he let him leave? Therefore, he quickly slashed with his blade. Bang! An ice lotus spun and released the power of ice, blocking the purple blade. "You want to touch her? You'll have to ask me first." Lin Xian stood in front of him. "You're courting death. Get lost!" Scar snorted as he waved his hand. A white shark phantom appeared and bit at Lin Xian. Buzz! A sword light flashed and split the opponent's attack apart. "Frenzied Blade, let's work together and take down this kid first," Scar said. "Anyway, this place is sealed. That girl won't be able to escape for a while." "Okay." Frenzied Blade nodded. Then, he stared at Lin Xian, his eyes flashing. "Kid, how dare you interfere with my business? You'll die a horrible death." After saying that, he waved his purple blade and slashed at Lin Xian. Boom! A great battle broke out. Lin Xian challenged 2 third-level sovereigns by himself. The terrifying aura caused the space to shake as if it was about to split open. He activated his Ice Lotus Martial Soul to restrain Scar, and used his Great Dragon Sword Soul to fight against Frenzied Blade. For a moment, he actually blocked the attacks of the two. What? The people who were escaping in the distance were shocked when they saw this scene. Is he still human? A second Heaven Venerable blocked the attack of 2 third Heaven Venerables? No one would believe it if they said it out loud. Scar and Frenzied Blade's faces turned ugly. Especially Frenzied Blade. This was his first time fighting with Lin Xian. He didn't know how strong Lin Xian was, but his opponent's aura was only at the 2nd level. Obviously, he didn't put him in his eyes. However, he couldn't accept the current situation. Kid, die! Frenzied Blade roared and used his ultimate skill, Mad Lion Slash. Chapter 878. Mad Lion Slash! A purple sword light flashed and quickly slashed out, forming a purple lion in the air and pouncing towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian pulled out the Wind Shadow Sword and swept it out. A golden lightning bolt surged and exploded in the air. Immediately after, another sword slashed out. The fiery red sword she carried monstrous flames that burned everything as it slashed towards the opponent. In an instant, Lin Xian had slashed out twice. It was extremely terrifying. Frenzied Blade used his strength to block the 2 swords. He was extremely angry. Although the opponent's cultivation was not as high as his attack power was too strong. Moreover, the opponent seemed to have mastered many types of attacks, making him flustered every time. Just as Frenzied Blade blocked the 2 sword chi and was about to continue attacking, a few screams came from afar, causing his expression to change. The screams came from his Frenzied Blade Association. It was obvious that the gang members he brought were injured. Frenzied Blade suddenly turned around and saw more than 10 Frenzied Blade Association martial artists covered in black fog and turned into blood. His eyes immediately turned red. Die for me! He gave up on Lin Xian and slashed out. A huge purple sword light tore through the sky and slashed towards the black fog in the distance. The knife-scarred man's expression also changed because the White Sharks Association's members were also decreasing. Although he could resist it, the ordinary gang members couldn't resist it at all. No, we can't stay here for long! The knife-scarred man's heart was heavy. He glanced at Lin Xian with complicated feelings. Just as he was about to attack with all his strength, a powerful and strange aura erupted from behind him. A huge stone statue came to life, surrounded by black fog like a demon from hell. A huge stone hand reached out and grabbed downwards. Wherever it passed, no martial artist escaped. No! The martial artists screamed and cried for their parents. They were extremely regretful. They did not expect the king's treasure to be so dangerous. However, there was no time to regret. In an instant, hundreds of martial artists were turned into blood mist by the stone hand. Boom! Another stone man came to life, holding the stone sword in his hand and slashing down quickly. The direction was where the Frenzied Blade Association was. Damn it! Frenzied Blade looked at the stone sword with a gloomy face. He roared and slashed down with his sword. Boom! The two collided, and the entire hall almost split apart. The momentum was terrifying to the extreme. Puff! Frenzied Blade retreated, his eyes filled with horror. His opponent's strength had already surpassed his. Damn it, what the hell is this thing? He was abnormally furious. However, there was no time for him to think. In the next moment, his opponent raised his stone sword again. One by one, the stone statues came to life, and with a terrifying aura, they charged at the crowd. Lin Xian's scalp went numb. His figure flashed, and he regrouped with the Eastern Phoenix. Let's go! He slashed out with his sword, and when he looked at the screen of light formed by the black fog, he discovered that he couldn't cut it open. In that instant, Lin Xian was taken aback and prepared to use his great dragon sword soul. I'll do it! Dongfang Fenghuang stepped forward. At this time, she could no longer hide her strength. The flames on his body danced, forming a flaming phoenix. With a mysterious flame, he charged forward. Boom! Chi! In the next moment, a hole was burned into the strange black fog light screen. Let's go! The two of them didn't delay and quickly rushed out. There's an exit! When the others saw this, they also shouted crazily and ran toward the hole that was burned open by the flames. The scene was very chaotic because the crowd realized that the exit was slowly shrinking. Instantly, countless people became angry and even attacked to kill the people in front of them. They had no choice. The black light screen was very strange, and ordinary people couldn't break it open. The exit in front of them was their only way out. Get lost! An angry shout was heard, followed by a purple sword ray that slashed down, sending the martial artists in front flying. Blood splattered everywhere, and it was a shocking sight. Boom! Seeing this scene, everyone's scalps went numb, and they quickly dodged. Many people roared and turned back, but when they saw that it was Frenzied Blade who attacked, they immediately lost their temper. They had no choice. A rank 3 honorable realm martial artist was extremely terrifying, and no one could stop him. Frenzied Blade and Scar came near the hole and used all their strength to tear it open. Then, they led their subordinates and quickly left. The others followed behind, looking terrified. Roar! Behind them, the black fog saw that the crowd had fled the hall and immediately roared angrily. Some of them retreated. However, there were also some that followed out of the hall and continued to chase. Among them, many black fog rushed out and formed the shadow of a woman, chasing after Lin Xian and Dongfang Fenghuang. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He and Dongfang Fenghuang quickly flew through the passage, but the black fog followed closely behind. "Oh no, these damn things are chasing after us!" Dong Fenghuang's face was pale. Lin Xian turned back and saw the blurry shadow. He found that it was very similar to the woman in the hall with her palm in the air, and immediately understood. "This black fog is coming for the Qihong mother-son sword," Lin Xian said. What should we do?" Dong Fenghuang was anxious. She had obtained this treasure with great difficulty, and she didn't want to lose it here. "Don't worry. Look at this black fog, it shouldn't be very strong. If we work together, we might be able to get rid of it." "Okay." Dong Fenghuang nodded. Then, the two of them stopped and quickly attacked. A flaming phoenix attacked, lighting up the entire space and rushing toward the black fog shadow behind them. Lin Xian also used the great dragon sword. The shocking sword she was like a rainbow, slashing toward the back. The two of them attacked with extremely powerful attacks. Just as they were about to destroy the other party, a furious roar suddenly came from the hall in the distance. It was like a demon's voice, causing people's hearts to tremble. "Oh no, it seems like a big guy is coming out." Lin Xian's pupils shrank. "You go first." Dong Fenghuang's face was pale. Then, she nodded heavily and said, "You must come back alive." "Don't worry." Lin Xian's sword she slashed toward the back. Seeing this, Dong Fenghuang turned into a flaming phoenix and quickly flew into the distance. She knew that Lin Xian was powerful and had countless trump cards. He should be safe. However, she would only distract him if she stayed here, so it was better to leave quickly. Seeing Dong Fenghuang and Lin Xian's eyes gradually became fierce. He looked at the black fog behind them with a dignified expression. "Ah! Help!" Behind them, a martial artist screamed in horror and ran toward Lin Xian. "You're courting death." Lin Xian's face darkened. Originally, the black fog behind them did not come toward them, but now, it was attracted by the martial artist. It was obvious that the other party wanted to drag Lin Xian down with them. Lin Xian's eyes were cold. He would not show mercy to those who wanted to frame him. However, before he could make a move, the black fog behind him turned into a terrifying palm and slammed down quickly. Boom! With one hit, the second-level honorable realm turned into a bloody mist. Seeing this, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. The black palm was more terrifying than he had imagined. Buzz, buzz, buzz! The space trembled as the black palm floated. A bloody mouth appeared in the middle of the palm and swallowed the second-level honorable realm's bloody mist. Sizzling sounds could be heard. Then, another eyeball appeared above the bloody mouth. It was incomparably red and stared at Lin Xian. Chapter 879. A bloody mouth and a blood-red eyeball appeared on the palm of the black hand. It was extremely strange as it stared coldly at Lin Xian. Boom! In the next instant, it exploded with terrifying power and quickly grabbed at Lin Xian. The palm caused the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. The wind howled furiously, and it was extremely terrifying. Even a third heaven honorable realm would be turned into a bloody mist if they were hit. Lin Xian's scalp went numb. The attack was beyond what he could withstand. He used his movement skill and dodged quickly. At the same time, he summoned the Red Lotus armor to defend himself. Boom! Lin Xian felt his blood boil after being hit by the palm. His entire body felt like it was about to split apart. The Red Lotus armor on his body dimmed as well. So powerful? He was shocked, and his face was extremely solemn. Hiss! The black hand appeared again, and the bloody mouth revealed a mocking smile. It was obviously extremely sinister, as if it was mocking the weak human in front of it. It seems like I can only use that move. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his eyes flickered. He activated the great dragon sword soul with all his might, and then took it out. Buzz! The void trembled and shattered. A green sword shadow appeared in front of him. It was extremely blurry, but it carried a monstrous aura. The aura was too terrifying and far exceeded that of a third heaven honorable realm. Even a fourth heaven honorable realm would not be able to compare to it. It was as if a peerless divine sword had appeared in the world. Just its aura alone could easily tear the void apart. The appearance of the green sword's shadow made the black hand uneasy. A tinge of fear appeared in its eyes and it let out a low roar. Its voice was filled with uneasiness. In the next instant, it suddenly became extremely violent and charged at Lin Xian. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly and slowly held the green sword's shadow in his hand. Endless rays of light exploded and dyed the entire world green. The void shattered and a ray of sword light slashed down silently and instantly hit the black hand. It was as if nothing existed in the world except for the green sword's shadow. Only after a period of time had passed did a terrifying sound. The entire great earth split in half, the void destroyed, shattering like a mirror. The black hand let out a shrill cry that was like a demonic sound, destroying all the surrounding mountains and trees. However, it still couldn't change anything. A sword mark appeared on its body, splitting it in half. Whoosh! The large black hand fell to the ground and turned into a black handkerchief. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian grasped the black handkerchief in his hand. Then, he let out a heavy sigh. His face was a little pale. He waved his hand and recalled the green sword shadow. Using the great dragon sword soul consumed too much of his energy, but its power was also very terrifying. Even a fourth heaven venerable expert might not be able to withstand that attack. With a flicker, Lin Xian arrived at a safe place and sat down cross-legged to recover. In this king's treasure, there were dangers everywhere. He had to maintain his peak state at all times. Fortunately, he had a variety of natural treasures on him, so he quickly recovered. He took out the black handkerchief again and studied it curiously. There was a powerful aura on it. This is a treasure. It should be able to be activated. Give it a try, the Crimson Dragon said. Lin Xian was tempted. He injected his spiritual power, and the black handkerchief emitted light and floated in the sky. Countless black lights drooped down like a black river, surging and roaring. It was extremely terrifying. The black lights formed a sealed space that could control people. Lin Xian raised his hand and slashed at the black lights. Immediately, there was a rumbling sound, but it didn't cut through. Good stuff! His eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on his face. His attack was equivalent to a third heaven venerable. The attack just now didn't pose a threat to the black lights. Didn't that mean that the black handkerchief could trap a third heaven venerable? Thinking of this, he smiled again. With this, he had one more trump card. In the future, even if he faced two third heaven venerables, he wouldn't be afraid. His body swayed, and he went on his way again. Whoosh! In front of him, there was a sound of air being torn apart, and a fiery red light flew over quickly. Then, a delicate voice sounded. It was Lin Xian. Whoosh! The flaming figure stopped, and Dongfang Phoenix's delicate body was revealed. She looked at Lin Xian with her beautiful eyes. You're fine. That's great. Let's go and meet up with Bing Ling and the rest. Lin Xian smiled. Okay. Dongfang Phoenix nodded. The two of them left side by side quickly. Along the way, they saw countless battles and countless buildings. However, they ignored them and went deeper into the forest. In front of them, the forest gradually became sparse, and a plain appeared. However, the color was still white. When they arrived at the plain, the number of martial artists around them increased again. Countless people flew forward with burning eyes. In the sky, there was a blurry black shadow. Seeing that black shadow, Lin Xian and Dongfang Phoenix also sped up. Soon, they realized that the blurry black shadow was a huge cauldron. It stood on the ground like a giant mountain. The closer they got, the more they could feel the terrifying aura emitted from the black cauldron. It made the entire space become oppressive. Moreover, there was a sense of vicissitudes on the cauldron, as if it was lamenting the ruthlessness of time. The huge black cauldron had 3 legs and 2 handles. The cauldron's body was painted with various rare and lifelike beasts. It looked as if they would jump out at any time. Countless martial artists gathered around the black cauldron. They were densely packed like locusts. Those martial artists were divided into countless groups. From the sky, they looked like terraced fields. They were clearly separated. It was obvious that they belonged to different forces. Lin Xian and Dongfang Phoenix's arrival did not attract the attention of others. That was because there were martial artists flying over at every moment. Moreover, the two of them were second-level honorables. They were not particularly outstanding. Therefore, the martial artists did not notice them at all. However, there was a power that let out a cry of alarm. They were from Blackwater City, where Xiao Mei was. When they saw that Lin Xian was still alive, they were shocked. Especially Grandma Silver. Her wrinkled old face was filled with disbelief. That was the ice underground. Even a third-level honorable would freeze to death. However, a second-level honorable martial artist had come out alive? When she thought of this, her face turned gloomy. That was because she had sent a martial artist to guard that place. Although that martial artist was also a second-level honorable, he had the black flag and could definitely capture and kill that brat. However, the brat had appeared before her eyes. This meant that the person she had sent was most likely dead. Grandma Silver looked at the sky with a gloomy face. She was not sad for the martial artist, but the black flag in the martial artist's hand was very important to her. If she lost it, it would be very troublesome. What a piece of trash! You can't even catch a little thief! Grandma Silver's eyes were gloomy. Xiao Mei had also noticed Lin Xian. Her seductive face was stunned for a moment. However, she soon sneered. He's not dead? That's great! This way, I can take the yang energy. Xiao Mei was extremely excited. With the yang energy of the brat, she would definitely be able to break through. Chapter 880. Xiao Mei looked at Lin Xian, who was flying in the sky, and smiled evilly. Kid, you're fine. That's great. With you, I can break through. Grandma Silver, you must catch him this time. Xiao Mei's voice rang out, bringing with it a sharp killing intent, which immediately alerted the martial artists in the surroundings. It couldn't be helped. She was the daughter of the city governor of Blackwater City, and every action of hers was watched by a myriad of people. A person that could make her emit killing intent was probably not simple. Countless people looked up and paid close attention. Don't worry, Mississippi. I'll catch him this time. Grandma Silver's voice was hoarse, and it was filled with killing intent. Then, her body swayed, and she rushed into the void. Her actions naturally attracted Lin Xian's attention. He saw her greedy and cruel eyes, and he squinted his eyes. Since they wanted to die, he did not mind sending them on their way. Kid, come here and die! A terrifying voice sounded, shaking the surroundings. I was wondering who it was. So it's you, old dog. You're really haunting me. Lin Xian sneered. Everyone was in an uproar. This was the first time someone dared to talk about Blackwater City like that. Could he be a peerless expert? Countless people looked up, but when they saw Lin Xian's figure and cultivation, they were stunned. A second sky honorable realm brat? Although it was amazing to reach the second sky honorable realm at such a young age, it was not enough to go against Blackwater City. Who was it that gave him such guts? Many people sneered and shook their heads, thinking that he was courting death. You have a sharp tongue. When I catch you, I'll knock all your teeth out. Grandma Silver's face was gloomy, and a terrifying aura was emitted from her body. It's them again! Dongfang Phoenix's face turned cold. Do you want to attack together? Let me, Lin Xian said. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, they won't dare to attack together. I'm fine with an old witch. Then be careful, Dongfang Phoenix said. She did not doubt Lin Xian's strength. Don't worry. Lin Xian smiled. He then turned around and looked at Grandma Silver. His face, which was originally smiling, turned cold at this moment. There was a trace of coldness on his face, which was shocking. I have to say that you're really lucky. You didn't freeze to death in such a cold place. You're really lucky. Good luck? Lin Xian sneered and didn't answer. The other party continued. However, your brain is not very good. If I were you, I would have run away long ago. And you still dare to come here? I'll let you know the consequences of going against Blackwater City. So much nonsense. Are you done? Lin Xian snorted coldly. Upon hearing this, the crowd below was stunned. They didn't dare to believe that a level 2 Venerable Realm Cultivator and a level 3 Venerable Realm Cultivator were talking. You're courting death. Silver Grandma was also furious. She suddenly swung her snake-headed walking stick and smashed it forward. Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, he threw out a black handkerchief. The black handkerchief expanded in the wind, and like a dark cloud, it quickly covered the sky. Buzz! In an instant, it was above Silver Grandma's head. It quickly cast rays of dark light, forming a sealed cage and trapping her. Humph, such a small trick. Break! Silver Grandma sneered and waved her hand forward. Rumble! A terrifying sound rang out, shaking the surroundings. However, the dark light only shook violently and didn't break. What? Everyone was shocked. They couldn't believe it. That was the attack of a third-level honorable. How could it not break? What exactly was that thing? How could it be so strong? Silver Grandma's face darkened. She didn't expect the cage to be stronger than she had imagined. Damn brat, where did you get such a treasure? Her eyes were filled with jealousy. Previously, Lin Xian didn't have it. Now that he had taken out such a treasure, it was very likely that he found it here. How lucky! However, this treasure is mine. Silver Grandma's face was ferocious and her eyes were filled with greed. However, Lin Xian sneered. You can have fun by yourself. After saying that, he quickly rushed downwards. That direction was where Xiao Mei was. Brat, how dare you! Silver Grandma was furious. She didn't expect that Lin Xian would dare to attack her. Mississippi Xiao Mei was even more shocked. Her eyelids twitched. She had seen how strong Lin Xian was. She was no match for him. All of you attack! She screamed. Yes. Immediately, the 5 people behind her rushed into the sky. Each of them took out a large flag and waved it in the wind. Brat, die! The 5 of them shouted as powerful spiritual energy exploded from their bodies. Lin Xian's face darkened. He had been trapped by them before. How could he let them do as they wished this time? With a cold snort, he clenched his fist and a similarly black flag appeared in his hand. It emitted a monstrous aura. What, the black dragon flag? Xiao Mei's face changed and became ferocious. How dare you kill my people? I want you dead. Go, take his yang energy and kill him. Xiao Mei screamed. The 5 of them flew quickly, bringing along a monstrous black fog to surround Lin Xian. One! Lin Xian used the great dragon sword soul. His arm turned into a real dragon and he quickly threw out the black flag. Bang! The void was pierced as the black flag turned into a black ray of light. It was extremely sharp and quickly pierced through one of the 5 people. Ah! With a blood-curdling scream, the martial artist was pierced through by the black flag and nailed to the ground. The entire ground cracked and countless cracks spread out. It was a terrifying scene. Blood flowed out. It was a ghastly sight. The surrounding people were stunned. They did not expect this young man in the second heaven to be so terrifying. He trapped a third heaven-honored realm martial artist in one move and broke the Blackwater City's dragon array in another. This is too strong, isn't it? With the array broken, the other 4 people could not stop Lin Xian. Lin Xian stared coldly at Xiao Mei. What do you want to do? Xiao Mei's body trembled. She felt as though she had been pierced through. Below, countless warriors of the Blackwater City stepped forward and surrounded Xiao Mei, looking at the sky with vigilance. Facing these people, Lin Xian was not afraid. He said coldly, This is not the first time you have tried to kill me. Do you think I will let you go? He stepped on a sword ray and rushed downwards. Wherever he passed, no one could stop him. He pointed out a finger, and a sword ray condensed at the tip of his finger, and shot out. Whoosh! The sword ray pierced through the void and arrived in front of Xiao Mei. It was about to kill her. Bang! At this moment, the void fluctuated, forming a spiraling black dragon that blocked the sword light. Not only that, the black dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its roar shook the sky and burst forth with a powerful force. With a roar, it forced Lin Xian back. Puff! Countless martial artists vomited blood. They were terrified. That sound was too terrifying. They could not withstand it. Lin Xian was forced back. He was shocked and looked ahead cautiously. To be able to force him back with a single sound, the person who came was definitely terrifying. To be able to have such strength and help Black Water City, the other party's identity was self-evident. Chapter 881. Black Water City's City Lord? Since you're here, why hide? Lin Xian said coldly. Lin Xian's voice spread out clearly. Countless people were shocked. The Black Water City's City Lord was here too. Especially the other two forces. They were all shocked and their faces were gloomy. If this was true, they were in danger this time. Because the Black Water City's City Lord was a fourth heaven honorable, he had an absolute advantage here. Many cultivators stretched their necks and looked in the direction of Black Water City. At this moment, a deep laugh sounded. You're young, but your eyesight is not bad. That's right, it's me. As the words fell, a figure walked out from behind the Black Water City's crowd. This person walked with a majestic gait. His aura was extraordinary, and his appearance was ordinary, but there was a majestic aura around him. What was even more shocking was that his aura was too powerful. It swept through the entire area and made people's hearts tremble. Fourth heaven, this was the aura of a fourth heaven honorable. Countless people exclaimed. They were now sure that this person was really the Black Water City's City Lord. The Iron Sword sect and Huangfu family's faces were ugly. They did not expect the Black Water City's City Lord, Shaoli, to really come. Lin Xian's pupils shrank and his expression turned solemn. A fourth heaven honorable was indeed powerful. Just the aura alone made his body tense. Father! Xiao Mei exclaimed, her face filled with joy. Father, that kid is too despicable. Kill him! Hearing this, everyone was shocked. If Shaoli attacked, that youth would definitely die. After all, a fourth heaven honorable was too powerful. It was not something a second heaven honorable could fight against. Shaoli looked around and saw the imprisoned Grandma Silver in the distance. He revealed a disdainful smile and waved his hand, causing a vast force to surge out. Bang! In the distance, the black light formed by the black handkerchief was shattered and scattered on the ground. The black handkerchief trembled slightly and flew back to Lin Xian's hand. City Lord! Grandma Silver's figure flashed and arrived in front of Shaoli. Shaoli nodded slightly, then looked at Lin Xian. Do you want to kill yourself to apologize, or do you want me to do it? This voice contained an irresistible force. Everyone was shocked. They knew that the young man was really going to be in trouble. Dong Fang Fehuang's pretty face was also pale, her beautiful eyes filled with worry. Lin Xian was also frowning. He didn't have much of a chance of winning against a fourth-rank Venerable Realm cultivator. Of course, it was impossible for the other party to kill him. Therefore, the only thing they could do now was to avoid the brunt of the attack. In a flicker, Lin Xian used the illusory demon steps and flew to the side. You want to leave? Don't you think you're too naive? Xiao Li's face was full of disdain as he pointed out a finger. Roar! The black spiritual energy converged and formed a huge Jiao dragon. It flew out and attacked Lin Xian. The black dragon roared, shattering the void and striking Lin Xian in an instant. However, Lin Xian's figure soon disappeared into the void. After image? Many people exclaimed, their eyes filled with disbelief. It was too shocking. A young man at the second heavenly layer of the Exalt Realm was actually able to escape the attack of a fourth heavenly layer of the Exalt Realm. So fast. The experts from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu clan were shocked as well. After image? Shaoli was taken aback. This speed is a little surprising. However, do you think you can escape from me with that? Black dragon seals the sky. Shaoli stretched out his palm and a huge black dragon shadow covered the sky. It was dark and had a terrifying aura. 5 black Jiao dragons circled around and formed a huge palm that quickly slammed down. Wherever it passed, the void shattered. It was too terrifying. Countless people trembled. The power of a 4th heavenly layer of the Exalt realm was too strong. It was not something they could withstand. Lin Xian was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. He felt a strong pressure, and the wind from the palm alone was enough to make his blood boil. Boom! In the next moment, he activated the Red Lotus armor and covered his body. At the same time, he activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul and released a stunning sword chi. Boom! Poof! The terrifying power collided and the sword chi shattered into pieces. Lin Xian was sent flying. However, he was not injured. The Red Lotus armor had blocked most of the attack and he had neutralized the rest. Moreover, his sword chi was not useless. At least it had slowed down the Jiao dragon palm in the sky. What? He's not dead again. Everyone was shocked. This was too unexpected. They could not believe it. Xiao Mei and the rest were also shocked. Luck, it must be luck. How could this brat block the attack of a 4th heavenly layer venerable? Seeing that Lin Xian was not dead, Shaoli's face fell. He was embarrassed that he could not kill a 2nd heavenly layer venerable brat in 2 moves. Humph! He snorted and was ready to attack seriously. He wanted to kill Lin Xian in 1 move. A terrifying aura gathered on his body. It was as if countless Jiao dragons were roaring and intertwining with each other. Seeing that his opponent's aura had increased, Lin Xian's face fell. His opponent wanted to kill him again and again. Did he really think that he was easy to bully? Lin Xian's eyes were cold. He was ready to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul to fight with his opponent. Even if he died, he would drag his opponent down with him. Lin Xian was about to attack when suddenly, there were a few sounds in the distance. It was accompanied by a shout. Don't you think it's embarrassing for an elder to attack a junior? If you attack again, don't blame Senma College for taking revenge in the future. The voice spread out, and martial artists appeared near Lin Xian. They were 3 young martial artists. One of them was a girl, and the other 2 were young. Senma College. They are from Senma College. The crowd was shocked and then exclaimed. No wonder. Only the prodigies of Senma College can fight against a 4th heavenly layer venerable warrior with a 2nd heavenly layer cultivation. Junior brother Lin, junior sister Dongfang, are you okay? Bingling asked. We're fine. Lin Xian and Dongfang Phoenix shook their heads. At the same time, they heaved a sigh of relief. It was still difficult for him to fight against a 4th heavenly layer venerable warrior. It seemed that he had to continue cultivating. Hee, so you are from Senma College? I didn't know. Shaoli said calmly, but he snorted in his heart. Now that the other party had come to help, he didn't want to attack. Moreover, there were so many people here, and the other party's identity was known. If he really attacked, Senma College might hear about it in the future. It would be difficult to deal with if he angered that kind of big shot. Now that you know, why don't you stop? Bingling snorted. She was in a blue dress. Her appearance was beautiful, and her temperament was unparalleled. She was a real beauty. Such an elegant and peerless beauty scolded the people of Blackwater City in public. That scene was extremely spectacular. Hearing the other party's scolding, Shaoli's face darkened. The martial artists of Blackwater City behind him also glared. No one had ever dared to scold them like this. If the other party wasn't a disciple of Senma College, they would have been dead by now. Mayor, what should we do now? Grandma Silver asked. Chapter 882. City Lord, what should we do? Grandma Silver asked. Let them go for now. They're just a few insects. They can't do anything. Once we get the treasure, we'll get rid of them. Then Shaoli muttered to himself. According to the news, the treasure is in this black cauldron. But what exactly is it? Why didn't the higher-ups tell me? Is this the king's treasure? But there's only a big black cauldron and nothing else? Xiao Mei asked curiously. This is indeed the location of the king's treasure. Niwa of Gojoseon died here. As for why you can't see it, that's normal. That's because there's an extremely strong seal here. Only by breaking it can we enter the real king's treasure, Shaoli said slowly. Just wait. Soon, the seal will appear on its own. At that time, I'll have a way to break it. After he finished speaking, a cold smile appeared in Shaoli's eyes. It was as if breaking the extremely powerful seal in the legends was not a difficult task for him. Xiao Mei and the others didn't ask any more questions. Instead, they obediently waited at the side. However, she still looked at Lin Xian and the others and made a throat-slitting gesture. Just you wait. When I'm done with my business, it'll be your time to die. Xiao Mei snorted in her heart. Seeing that Shaoli didn't make any more moves, Bing Ling and the others heaved a sigh of relief. After all, a fourth heaven venerable was a terrifying existence. If he really wanted to make a move, none of them would be able to stop him. Luckily, he was afraid of their identities and didn't dare to make a move. All right, he's afraid of our identities and won't make a move for the time being. But everyone should still be careful, Bing Ling said in a low voice. The five of them gathered together and found an empty space to land. They waited patiently. As night fell, the temperature dropped. Luckily, everyone was strong enough to resist the cold with their spiritual energy. At midnight, a ball of light rose into the sky like a bright moon. When it reached the top of the sky, the light it cast happened to cover the huge black cauldron. In the next moment, the carvings of strange beasts on the cauldron started to emit a faint light. In the end, it was as if they had come alive. They swam around the cauldron as if they would jump out at any moment. A series of low voices rang out from the black cauldron. Following that, the entire cauldron was filled with mysterious runes, releasing a peculiar light. The next moment, a mysterious aura spread out in all directions. Everyone was shocked. They stood up one after another and looked ahead. Lin Xian and the other four also opened their eyes. Their gazes flickered as they looked ahead. A king's treasure, this is the aura of a king! Bing Ling's voice trembled when she felt this aura. Inscriptions flickered on the huge black cauldron in front of him. Light intertwined in the air, distorting the surrounding space. Then, mysterious runes appeared around the black cauldron, sealing it like a seal. The power emanating from the seal was extremely terrifying. It was even more terrifying than that of a fourth-level venerable realm cultivator. A casual strike from him would be enough to annihilate everyone present. There's actually a seal! Everyone was shocked. Fortunately, they didn't act rashly before. Otherwise, they might have suffered a calamity. As expected of a king's treasure, even the seal left behind was so powerful. Just this aura alone was unbearable, Bing Ling said in a low voice. Seeing the changes in the black cauldron, the surrounding martial artists all watched silently. None of them acted rashly. However, human greed was limitless. Under such a huge temptation, even though there was a terrifying aura in front of them, there were still people who were ready to act. After a moment of silence, someone made a move. This was a group of more than 20 people. Although there weren't any third-level venerables, there were 7 or 8 second-level venerables. The remaining dozen were all first-level venerables. When such a group of people gathered together, it was extremely terrifying. When these people saw that no one made a move, they took the initiative to step forward and prepared to give it a try. After all, if they succeeded, they would be the first to enter the king's treasure. The benefits they would obtain would be huge. Under such a temptation, even if their lives were in danger, they were willing to take the risk. In the next moment, more than 20 martial artists attacked together, covering the sky and earth. The attacks were extremely terrifying. They were like a torrent of the spirit sea that surged forward. Bang! A violent collision sound was heard. Shocking energy was vast and mighty, and the mysterious seal rippled like boiling water. However, the power of those people was soon reflected back. The energy that was reflected back was even more terrifying. The momentum was shocking, and it directly sent the 20 venerables flying. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. 20 venerables attacked together, but they couldn't break the frost seal at all. As expected of the king's treasure. It was indeed powerful, Yan Lin exclaimed. In front, the 20 venerables fell to the ground and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. They were all in a sorry state and looked terrified. This scene caused the surrounding martial artists to fall into silence again. The power of the mysterious seal ahead was beyond their expectations. At this moment, an old man stood out and said loudly, I'm sure everyone has seen how terrifying this seal is. Even 20 venerables can't break it. It seems that our forces can't break the defense at all if we act alone. Instead of that, why don't we join forces and attack together? Only then will we have hope of opening the seal. Otherwise, we can only stand here and watch. We won't get anything. Hearing this, everyone fell silent and thought to themselves. The gray-robed old man was right. If they didn't join forces, they probably wouldn't be able to enter at all. Soon, the small groups reached an agreement and prepared to attack. That was because if they didn't act now, they would really have no chance if those large forces attacked. One had to know that their groups only had 20 to 30 people, and they couldn't compare to a colossus like Blackwater City. Now was their only chance to enter the king's treasure. Soon, countless martial artists soared into the sky and formed a group, preparing to attack. The sky immediately darkened, and it was dark. It was very shocking. There were more than 100 teams, and there were 2,000 to 3,000 people in total. They stood in the sky together, and they were densely packed like dark clouds. The auras of the venerables merged into one, forming a huge energy tide. That aura was too powerful. Even a 4th-level venerable would find it difficult to resist. Should we attack? Yan Lin asked. They were also a small group. If they didn't join now, it would be too late. The king's seal isn't so easy to break. Let's wait a little longer. Lin Xian shook his head. Chapter 883. He had secretly received a message from the Crimson Dragon, telling him not to act rashly. Seeing Lin Xian's solemn expression, Bing Ling and the others nodded. After interacting with each other along the way, they had already recognized Lin Xian's strength, and took his words seriously. Now that he had said to wait and see, he must have his reasons. With Lin Xian's reminder, Bing Ling and the others did not act rashly. They still waited and watched from where they were. In the next moment, the thousands of people in the sky attacked at the same time. The entire sky was illuminated by endless light. This attack was too terrifying. No one could block the attack of thousands of martial artists at the same time. However, this terrifying attack bombarded the seal in front of them, and was fiercely rebounded once again. Moreover, the rebounding force was even more violent than before. Countless waves of energy that could be seen with the naked eye spread out in all directions, ferociously slamming into the sovereigns in the sky, sending them flying. Blood splattered everywhere, and dyed the sky red. The venerables were all bombarded without exception. Seeing this scene, everyone trembled violently and sucked in a breath of cold air. This attack was too terrifying. Thousands of people could not break it. Was this king's treasure really unbreakable? Bing Ling, Yang Lin, and the others were even more shocked. If Lin Xian had not warned them, they would have gone up. If that had happened, they would have been seriously injured. Thinking of this, they felt a lingering fear. The people from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu clan were also shocked and frowned. The energy that had gathered in the sky was not weaker than any of them. Even so, it did not explode. This meant that even if they went up, they would not stand a chance. On the other hand, the people from Blackwater City seemed to be calm. Shaoli stood at the front with his hands behind his back. He looked forward with a disdainful smile. In front of them, the huge black cauldron was attacked and changed. Countless rays of light gathered above the black cauldron, and quickly formed a human figure. Soon, the human figure gradually solidified and finally became a 16 or 17-year-old youth. He had delicate features and a thin figure. He was looking up at the void. Seeing the youth's figure suddenly appear, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect the phantom of a young man to appear. But in the next moment, they became extremely terrified because the handsome young man emanated a powerful and terrifying pressure that enveloped the surroundings. His imposing aura far surpassed the exalt realm. King! King's aura! Countless people trembled, wanting to bow down in worship. As for those with weaker strength, they were kneeling on the ground, trembling nonstop. Niwa of Gojoseon! He is the Niwa of Gojoseon! As soon as these words came out, the surrounding cultivators were all shocked. Even the experts from the three major forces were greatly shocked. They had never seen Niwa of Gojoseon before, but they had heard countless legends about Niwa of Gojoseon. However, they had never thought that Niwa of Gojoseon was actually a teenager. Bing Ling and the others were also shocked as they stared blankly ahead. Lin Xian frowned. This Niwa of Gojoseon was too young. He seemed to be even younger than him. What do you know? A king's means are heaven-defying. It's not a problem for them to maintain their appearance. Niwa of Gojoseon obviously used this method. The Crimson Dragon transmitted his voice. So that's how it is. Lin Xian finally understood. From this point alone, one could see that a king was extraordinary. One had to know that the experts in the Exalt realm were usually old men because those experts were old monsters who had lived for almost 1,000 years. How could such a person be young? However, even if a king was old, he could still maintain his youth. This wasn't as simple as appearance. This meant that the vitality of a king had completely surpassed that of a venerable, and reached a new height. In front, the young man's figure looked around at the crowd and then sighed. Seeing the young man's actions, everyone was shocked again. The phantom of the young man was no different from a real person. What's going on? Has Niwa of Gojoseon been resurrected? Many people were frightened and prepared to run away. This is just a wisp of Niwa of Gojoseon's soul imprint. He hasn't really been resurrected. The Crimson Dragon transmitted his voice. A wisp of soul imprint? Lin Xian exclaimed. As expected of a king. Even a wisp of soul imprint was so powerful. Then, how powerful would a real king be? Everyone below the king realm is an ant. This is not wrong at all. The Crimson Dragon said. Boy, you'll know when you reach the king realm. King realm! Lin Xian clenched his fists, and his eyes shone. He must reach the king realm. In front, the Niwa of Gojoseon looked around and sighed. Endless vicissitudes of life appeared in his eyes. You're Niwa of Gojoseon? Suddenly, Shaoli stood out and asked in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, countless gazes looked over and exclaimed in surprise. What is Shaoli trying to do? Everyone was puzzled. Even if he was a 4th-level venerable, and even if the other party had a soul imprint, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. They couldn't be compared at all. Stepping out at this time was tantamount to courting death. As expected, the Niwa of Gojoseon turned around and looked at Shaoli. He shook his head slightly. You're too weak. There are so many people here, but no king realm, not even a half-king. Do I have to give my treasures to you ants? This voice was filled with endless lament. Everyone below the king realm was an ant. Even if there were 4th-level venerables and geniuses here, they were all ants in the eyes of a king realm cultivator. You're very courageous to dare to talk to me. However, a king realm cultivator is inviolable. Next is your punishment. The Niwa of Gojoseon raised his finger slightly, and a ray of light shot out. The space shattered, and it instantly arrived in front of Shaoli. Shaoli's pupils shrank, and his expression changed drastically. The speed was too fast, and he didn't have time to react. When he saw it, the attack had already arrived in front of him. The ray of light was only as thick as a chopstick, but the power it contained was too terrifying. It wasn't something he could resist at his level. He raised his hand with difficulty, wanting to take out something. Boom! Just as the ray of light was about to pierce through him, A palm-sized jade token suddenly appeared in his storage ring and blocked in front of him. Boom! 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 An earth-shattering explosion rang out, and terrifying shockwaves enveloped the entire area. The surrounding people retreated in fear. Many of them even vomited blood and were sent flying. They couldn't withstand the shockwaves at all. Even the shockwaves couldn't withstand it. Lin Xian and the others also retreated. They felt like a small boat in a raging sea that could capsize at any time. Red Lotus armor! Lin Xian shouted, and a layer of bright red armor quickly covered his body, forming a solid defense. Bing Ling and the others also used all sorts of methods to save their lives. Between the heavens and the earth, the wind howled, and lightning flashed. The entire world seemed to have arrived at the end of the world. After a long time, the terrifying shockwaves gradually disappeared, and the heavens and the earth returned to normal. Those who managed to escape raised their heads again and looked into the distance. Chapter 884. What? He blocked it! Everyone's eyes almost fell out of their sockets when they saw the scene in the distance. Lin Xian and the others also frowned. Their expressions were solemn because they saw that Shaoli was still standing near the black cauldron. He was not dead. This was too unbelievable. One had to know that that was an attack from a king. How could a level 4 honorable realm block it? No, Shaoli didn't block it! Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he stared at the jade token in front of Shaoli. The token was emitting a terrifying aura. Oh my god, what is that? Everyone also noticed this scene and exclaimed. Shaoli has a token that can block a king's attack? What treasure is that? Everyone was envious and shocked at the same time. The other party could actually take out such a thing. It seemed that Black Water City was well prepared. What king? It's just a soul imprint that's about to disappear. A disdainful voice rang out in the void. Everyone was shocked and their minds went blank. Who was this? How dare he say such big words? However, in the next moment, they were so shocked that they could not speak. This was because the jade token floating in the air suddenly emitted a powerful aura that swept out in all directions. The aura was too strong, with an unquestionable sense of oppression. Its power was not inferior to that of Niwa of Gojoseon at all. King's aura, this is the aura of a king! How is this possible? Everyone was shocked, and their bodies trembled. Bing Ling and the others also looked solemn and kept retreating. Lin Xian frowned and stared at the beautiful lady's token. The jade token emitted a dazzling light. Then, a figure walked out of the token. It was an old man with a sage-like demeanor. However, his eyes were a little gloomy. He had a supreme aura and the dignity of a person who had been in a high position for a long time. This aura was too terrifying. It was as if 100,000 demonic mountains were pressing down on the void, causing everyone to be unable to breathe. A king! It's a king! Countless people were frightened and exclaimed in their hearts. It was too shocking, too shocking. They did not expect two kings to appear in such a short period of time. A king! Lin Xian also exclaimed as his pupils constricted. He didn't expect Blackwater City to be related to kings. However, how was that possible? Lin Xian was not the only one who was shocked. The people from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu family were just as shocked. There was even a trace of fear on their faces. Although Blackwater City was powerful, it was only limited to the Blackwater River basin. It was nothing compared to the entire Blood Realm. However, if there really was a king behind the Blackwater River, then it would be different. With such a status, how could they be willing to stay in the Blackwater River basin? Old Monster Su from the Iron Sword sect and the middle-aged expert from the Huangfu family were both shocked and confused. Originally, the three of them were evenly matched, but now, it seemed that this was not the case at all. Their opponent, Blackwater City, seemed to have an unspeakable identity and secret. It's not a king! It's just a clone! At this moment, the dark red divine dragon transmitted its voice. King's clone! Lin Xian frowned, and the shock in his eyes became even more intense. Even a clone could create such a terrifying aura. As expected of a top expert of the continent. King's clone? At this moment, the Niwa of Gojoseon also spoke softly, and there was a great pressure in his voice. Interesting. I didn't think that my treasure would attract a king. I just don't know if your clone can break my seal? If it was a few hundred years ago, my clone might not be able to break it. But now, how much power does your seal have left? The mysterious king's clone asked coldly. Time is merciless. There is no need for the dead to remain in this world. The conversation between the two caused a huge uproar. Countless people were shocked. A king's clone? This was just a clone. But whose clone was this? While the crowd was shocked, they were also very curious. There were only a few kings in the Tianwu continent, and they could be counted with one hand. The king's clone in front of them was definitely one of them. For a moment, all kinds of guesses spread through the crowd. At this moment, the king's avatar in front of him suddenly made a move. A terrifying aura surged from his body, and the surrounding spiritual chi quickly gathered like waves, forming a quaint purple seal that blasted downward. The purple seal was like a huge mountain, and there were profound inscriptions on it. It was filled with a mysterious aura. Rays of purple light hung down like auspicious rays, and each ray could shatter the void. Boom! As soon as the purple seal condensed, it pressed down on the Niwa of Gojoseon. Humph! The Niwa of Gojoseon snorted coldly, took out a pill, and threw it into the void. Roar! In the next moment, a terrifying sound rang out, shaking the 9 heavens and causing the surrounding martial artists to tremble. In the void, a huge black shadow appeared. It was indomitable, and it was extremely terrifying. It was a demonic beast with the head of a tiger and the body of an elephant. Its body was covered with hard poisonous thorns, and there was a pair of huge blue wings on its back. It looked extremely ferocious. A terrifying demonic aura filled the world. Cheongqi! It's Cheongqi! Someone exclaimed, and his eyes were filled with horror. This legendary demonic beast had actually appeared. Hearing this voice, countless people were shocked and speechless. They could only stand there in a daze. A battle pill? You really have such means? On the opposite side, the mysterious sovereign's clone said coldly, Today, let me see how much power your broken soul can unleash. In the next moment, the mysterious king's clone snorted and waved his arm, bringing the purple seal down. Roar! Below, Cheongqi roared, flapped its wings, and pounced forward. Boom! There was a shocking tremor, and the entire space shook. Countless cracks filled the void as if it would split open at any time. This was a king, and a casual attack was so terrifying. Lin Xian looked up, and his heart was filled with shock. This attack was too powerful, and it could destroy an area with a raise of its hand. This was the power that he yearned for. Oh no, Cheongqi is being suppressed, and the seal is dimming. Bing Ling exclaimed. Lin Xian took a closer look, and indeed, the purple seal continued to descend, gradually suppressing Cheongqi. Sigh, time is merciless. That elixir king is only a soul mark, and it can't unleash much power. The Crimson Dragon sighed. Hearing this, Lin Xian was silent. He knew that the seal was about to be broken. It seems that the seal is about to be broken. Let's get ready to enter at any time, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Bing Ling and the others were shocked and excited. Who wouldn't be excited to enter the legendary king's treasure? Not only them, but all the martial artists around were also excited, and they all looked forward with fiery eyes. Shaoli looked at this scene and took a deep breath. He said to the people behind him, Get ready to enter the king's treasure. Chapter 885. The horrifying aura in front of them was vast and mighty, forming a scene of destruction. The surrounding people moved quickly, preparing to enter the king's treasure. The howling of the wind between heaven and earth became softer, and the horrifying aura gradually faded as well. The sound of glass breaking rang out. Everyone knew that it was the sound of the seal breaking. Countless people spat out saliva, looking excited. They knew that the seal around the king's treasure had finally been broken. Shaoli laughed sinisterly. His body flashed, and he led the people of Black Dragon City into the sky like a flood. Seeing the people of Black Water City taking the lead, Old Monster Su from Iron Sword Sect and the middle-aged man from Huangfu family also roared and led their own teams to charge forward. The surrounding people also quickly rose into the sky like locusts, flying forward in a dense pack. "Let's go too!" Bing Ling said in a low voice, looking very serious. Finally, Lin Xian and the other four gathered together. Like a sharp sword, they quickly shuttled through the void. Soon, they entered the place where the seal had been sealed. An aura of desolation and vicissitudes rushed over, causing one's heart to tremble. Countless teams advanced toward the huge black cauldron in front of them. As if it felt the disturbance of these intruders, the huge black cauldron trembled quickly, emitting a black light. The strange beasts carved on the cauldron came to life at this moment. They kept moving around, roaring ferociously. Then, under the shocked eyes of the crowd, they quickly rushed out of the black cauldron and pounced on the crowd. When the crowd saw this, their scalps went numb, and their faces were filled with horror. This scene was too horrifying and strange. The carvings on the cauldron came to life and became real demonic beasts. It was hard to believe. Many people thought that this was an illusion used to confuse people. After a while, they abandoned this idea because there were countless screams in front of them. It was obvious that those martial artists had been attacked. A pungent smell of blood quickly spread out, and the entire sky was filled with panic. Deep roars sounded with terrifying killing intent. More and more demonic beasts flew out of the huge black cauldron and rushed toward the crowd. "Run quickly!" When some timid martial artists saw this scene, they did not dare to stay and quickly fled into the distance. However, there were even more martial artists whose eyes were bloodshot. Their voices were filled with rage. "Kill them all, enter the enormous black cauldron, and seize the king's treasure." For a time, the sky was in chaos. All kinds of screams and sounds of battle rose and fell. The entire sky was filled with battles. However, they still underestimated those demonic beasts. Those demonic beasts were not real. They were illusions created by the mysterious power of the Black Cauldron. They seemed endless and tireless. They were indeed powerful when they worked together, but against these monsters that did not know fear and pain, they had to pay a heavy price to be able to advance. However, in this chaos, there was a group that rushed the fastest, and that was Blackwater City. Under the leadership of Blackwater City's City Lord Shaoli, the entire Blackwater City was like a sharp black blade, rapidly shuttling through the sky. Other than City Lord Shaoli, who was a fourth-layer venerable, there were also dozens of third-layer venerables. When these forces gathered together, they formed a terrifying force that quickly tore apart the black demonic beasts. Seeing Blackwater City's speed, the surrounding martial artists were shocked. That speed was too fast. It was not something they could compare to. Behind Blackwater City were the Iron Sword Sect and the Huangfu family. At this moment, they were chasing with all their might. "Let's speed up too," Bing Ling said in a deep voice. Her slender hand swiped across her storage ring, and a blue ice staff appeared in her hand. Immediately it emitted a monstrous cold aura. She waved the ice staff and easily froze the surrounding demonic beasts into ice sculptures. "This ice staff is terrifying!" Lin Xian was shocked. The power was a little too great. "Hee, kid, don't be surprised. It cost a lot of spiritual value points to exchange for it from the True Spirit Hall. This ice spring staff is extremely famous among the top spiritual treasures," Yanlin said in a booming voice. "All right, let's go. With the ice spring staff, we should be able to increase our speed by a lot," Bing Ling said in a deep voice. "Since that's the case, I'll help everyone again." Lin Xian formed a seal with his palm, and his fingers danced. Then, a blue ice lotus appeared under everyone's feet. "This is..." Seeing the blue ice lotus under their feet and feeling the terrifying aura it emitted, everyone was shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to have an ice attribute treasure. Especially Bing Ling. Her beautiful face was filled with shock. According to what she knew, Lin Xian was not an ice attribute martial artist. Now that he could use such a powerful ice attribute move, it seemed that he had a fortuitous encounter in the king's treasure. A fortuitous encounter. This was something she could not be envious of. Moreover, she had also obtained a few good items in the king's treasure. Taking a deep breath, Bing Ling calmed down and said in a deep voice, "That's good. With the two of us working together, we should be able to reach the limit of our speed." "Okay." Lin Xian nodded. Then, the two of them used their techniques and moved forward quickly. The huge ice lotus rotated like a blue stream of light, carrying everyone forward. Wherever it passed, cold air would spread, forming a frost zone. Bing Ling waved her ice staff and formed ice mountains, blocking all the demonic beasts that pounced on them. Indeed, with the two of them working together, their speed increased greatly. Although there were only 5 of them, their speed was not any slower than the people from the Iron Sword sect. In the sky, everyone flew toward the Black Cauldron with all their might. However, the further they went, the more demonic beasts there were. They seemed to have gone crazy and blocked everyone's path. At this point, everyone's speed slowed down. Even Blackwater City, which was the fastest, had no choice but to slow down. Moreover, the casualties caused by this attack were extremely terrifying. The air was filled with the pungent smell of blood. The blood had gathered into a river, which was a ghastly sight. Many people from each force died in the attack. Even a third-rank honorable from the Blackwater City died. One could imagine how terrifying it was. Lin Xian and the rest were strong. With the protection of the icy spring staff and the ice lotus martial soul, they did not suffer any casualties. However, the 5 of them looked solemn and moved forward carefully. It was too terrifying. What exactly was that black cauldron? How could it create so many demonic beasts? Yan Lin had a lingering fear. "Everyone, be careful. Don't get hurt," Bing Ling reminded. Look! The people from the Blackwater City are moving again!" Yi Yan's eyes flashed as he exclaimed. Lin Xian and the rest turned their heads and saw that the martial artists from the Blackwater City had started to disperse. They formed small teams and rushed forward from different directions. This was because they realized that the more martial artists there were, the greater the impact of the demonic beasts. If there were fewer people, it might be a good thing. This was also one of the reasons why Lin Xian and the rest were not injured. At this moment, Blackwater City had split their troops into 3 teams. Xiao Mei's team had 3 third-stage martial saints. Chapter 886. The next moment, the teams split up and rushed forward. Their speed was indeed much faster than before. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Old Monster Su from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu family looked pale. Soon, they decided to use the same method. "What should we do?" Yan Lin asked. Bing Ling and the others were deep in thought, but Lin Xian slowly said, "How about this? I will go and stop Xiao Mei and the others. After all, they have the water dragon pill. They might be able to do something unexpected. If no one stops them, the treasure might be taken away before we even reach it. But it's too dangerous. It's not good for you to go out alone." Bing Ling shook her head. "You still don't believe me? I won't do something that will kill me." Lin Xian smiled. "Okay then. You have to be careful. Don't force yourself." Seeing Lin Xian insist, Bing Ling could only agree. Then, Lin Xian's body flashed. Like a sharp sword, he flew forward quickly, piercing through all the beasts in his path. Although there were more beasts here, Lin Xian's speed was even faster than before. At this moment, he had no scruples. He went all out, and was extremely fast. His body emitted an icy sword light. Not only was it sharp, but the power of ice could also reduce the speed of the beasts around him. Running all the way, he finally arrived near the Black Cauldron. With a flash, Lin Xian rushed up and plunged into the Black Cauldron. He was very careful because the 2 king-level doppelgangers were still fighting in the void above the Black Cauldron. The two king-level doppelgangers were in a stalemate, and did not have the energy to care about what was happening below. Therefore, Lin Xian went in without any danger. The black cauldron was huge, so the space inside was also very spacious. It was like a city. It was dimly lit inside, and wisps of mist blocked his vision. Even with Lin Xian's powerful soul senses, he could only sense things within a radius of 100 meters. Fortunately, he was very fast. It was not difficult to search the entire black cauldron. Soon, he found a head. The head was sparkling and translucent like a crystal. It was surrounded by multicolored light and emitted a mysterious aura. Lin Xian didn't know what the skull was for, but his instincts told him that it was a rare treasure. His figure flashed, and he was about to go down to search for the treasure and take the crystal head away. However, at this moment, a powerful sound of something breaking through the air came from behind, and a terrifying spiritual energy rushed toward him. Humph! Lin Xian snorted and unleashed a sword aura with the back of his hand. Boom! Immediately after, a terrifying explosion rang out, and violent energy waves wreaked havoc like a raging tide. Lin Xian took a step back, and the person behind him also let out a muffled groan. Taking advantage of this gap, Lin Xian used Dragon Capturing Hand and caught the crystal skeleton in his hand. Thief, hurry up and hand over the treasure, or today will be the day you die! A furious roar rang out. That voice was filled with fury. Immediately after, a rapid sound of something breaking through the air came from behind, and Xiao Mei flew over with a furious face. In her hand was a blue pill that was emitting light. It was the water spiritual pill. Behind Xiao Mei were Grandma Silver and two other martial artists. The two martial artists had powerful auras, and their expressions were cold. It was obvious that their cultivation had reached the third heaven of the honorable realm. Damn thief, I'll definitely kill you! Xiao Mei's face was ferocious, and her body was trembling. With the guidance of the water dragon pill and the escort of 3 third heaven honorables, her speed was extremely fast. She thought that she would be the first to reach the black cauldron and obtain the rare treasure. However, things were out of her expectations. Lin Xian had entered earlier than her, and he had even obtained the rare treasure. Hand over the rare treasure, and I can spare your life. I can even let you leave safely, Xiao Mei said in a deep voice. Leave safely? Do you think I'll believe you? Lin Xian sneered, holding the crystal skeleton with disdain. Damn it! Grandma Silver, the 3 of you attack together and kill him for me. Xiao Mei's voice was cold. Then, Grandma Silver and 2 other third heaven honorables walked out. The 3 of them formed a triangle and surrounded Lin Xian. Without wasting any time, Grandma Silver immediately used the black flood dragon flag. It fluttered loudly, and black aura drooped down like a flood dragon, protecting her body. The trauma of being imprisoned by Lin Xian was still there, so when she saw Lin Xian, her first reaction was to defend herself. The other 2 also released light from their bodies, forming a solid defense. Then, the 3 of them stared at Lin Xian with cold killing intent. Brat, you're very strong and lucky to be able to obtain the rare treasure. However, if you meet us, you won't have any chance of survival. Grandma Silver's voice was ferocious. She really wanted to kill Lin Xian. Moreover, she believed that they would succeed this time, because if the 3 of them worked together, they would definitely be able to kill him. The combined strength of 3 third heaven honorables was extremely terrifying. It didn't matter if the other party was a genius or not, no one would be able to escape from the combined strength of 3 third heaven honorables. Seeing the 3 of them working together, the leader's face darkened, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Indeed, the combined strength of 3 honorables gave him a lot of pressure. Moreover, under such circumstances, it was difficult for his black handkerchief to imprison one of them. However, although the situation was difficult, he wasn't afraid. At least, if he really wanted to leave, these people definitely wouldn't be able to stop him. If you want the rare treasure, then exchange it with your lives. Lin Xian sneered. You're courting death! Grandma Silver roared. She didn't expect Lin Xian to be so stubborn. As her voice fell, the hillmen quickly attacked. Terrifying and vast energy rushed towards Lin Xian from 3 directions. Grandma Silver waved her black flag, and a black flood dragon rushed out with a ferocious roar. It carried a strange and eerie energy as it pounced towards Lin Xian. The other 2 also attacked quickly. They shot out a gray flame and a dazzling blade light. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He moved his feet and quickly traversed the void like a ghost, leaving behind countless afterimages. He used the illusory demon steps. Even if his opponents were 3rd heaven honorables, they couldn't lock onto him. Therefore, their attacks all missed. However, in the next moment, the 3 of them worked together and formed a pitch-black ancient mirror. It hung in the air and shot out a black light, knocking Lin Xian out of the void. "We knew that you were very fast. How could we not be prepared? Don't struggle. Today is the day you die. Die, brat!" The 3 of them walked forward step by step with hideous smiles on their faces. Lin Xian was blasted out of the void by a strange force. Instantly, his blood and qi churned, and his whole body felt like it was about to split open. He was extremely shocked. Indeed, his opponents had a way to deal with him. "Humph!" Lin Xian snorted coldly, and anger appeared in his eyes. Chapter 887. In the next moment, he pulled out the wind shadow sword and quickly drew in the air. A strange aura spread out as the surrounding spiritual energy surged and gathered into a wave that surged towards him. "Oh no, this kid is going to use some ultimate skill! Everyone, stop him!" Feeling the terrifying aura, Grandma Silver's face darkened as she shouted angrily. The 3 of them took out their dragon flags and quickly waved them in the air. Black clouds covered the city as a terrifying and oppressive aura exploded. It was like a demonic cloud that was about to envelop Lin Xian. Lin Xian waved the long sword in his hand and drew a strange trajectory in the air. A terrifying and vast power spread out, filling the entire sky in an instant. "Gale lightning sword, 3 swords scares ghosts and gods." Lin Xian's expression was cold as his deep voice sounded. The long sword in his hand suddenly pierced out and a sharp sword aura exploded. Up above, the void trembled as 3 huge sword shadows fell, slashing down viciously. With one strike, the air was shattered. "Earth-grade martial arts!" Feeling the terrifying aura, Grandma Silver and the other 2's faces changed as they screamed in horror. They did not expect the young man in front of them to have mastered an Earth-grade martial arts. Earth-grade martial arts were peerless treasures that even their city lord had not mastered. But now, a young man had actually executed such a terrifying martial arts. Feeling the terrifying sword aura, the 3's scalps went numb. They did not dare to be careless, and used all their strength to form a solid defense in front of them. Countless black gas flew out from the black flag and quickly intertwined in front of the 3. 3 dragons surged out and formed a black dragon diagram. The pitch-black light emitted a powerful force. It was obvious that this was an extremely powerful defensive technique. In the next moment, the 3 huge sword shadows in the air fell and crashed into the black light screen. A low and terrifying sound rang out as countless air waves surged up into the sky. The black light screen formed by the 3 dragons only lasted for a moment before it shattered. Then, the 3 powerful sword auras crashed into Grandma Silver and the other 2 and sent them flying. Bang! The 3 of them spat out mouthfuls of blood and were in a sorry state. Their bodies flew out and crashed into the black cauldron with a rumbling sound. The 3 of them were almost cut in half by this attack. Seeing this scene, Xiaomei screamed in horror from afar. She could not believe that Lin Xian had such terrifying strength, to be able to injure 3 third-level sovereigns with a single strike. This was too terrifying. Most likely, only a 4th heaven venerable realm cultivator would be able to accomplish this. And what was Lin Xian's cultivation level? He was only a 2nd-rank venerable. Thinking of this, her scalp went numb. Not daring to stay any longer, she turned around and twisted her waist in an attempt to escape. She really didn't dare to stay any longer. Otherwise, she would probably end up in a miserable state. Therefore, she had to leave quickly. Hearing the sound of Xiao Mei escaping, Lin Xian coldly laughed. This vicious woman had tried to take his life time and time again. Did she really think that he was easy to bully? Stretching out his palm, Lin Xian used the dragon capturing hands, forming 2 dragons of light. They roared ferociously as they rushed out, binding Xiao Mei in an instant. Then, Lin Xian shook his arm and pulled her to his side. "What are you trying to do?" Xiao Mei screamed in horror. "If you dare to touch me, you're dead. My father won't let you off!" Seeing this scene, the Silver Granny and the other 2's eyelids twitched. They endured the injuries in their bodies and quickly stood up. They said hatefully, "Thief, if you dare to touch our miss, you won't be able to live in this world. Scram! Don't let me see you. Otherwise, I'll kill her right now." With that, Lin Xian tightened his grip, causing Xiao Mei to scream in pain again. The Silver Granny struggled, but she did not leave. They had received orders to obtain the rare treasure. "Thief, if you dare to touch Miss, the city lord won't let you off!" Xiao Mei screamed. "My father will be here soon. If you dare to touch me, you're dead. I advise you to let me go and leave the rare treasure behind. Maybe I'll spare your life if I'm in a good mood. You're about to die, and you still dare to say such words. Do you really think I won't dare to kill you?" Lin Xian snorted coldly as he tightened his grip and broke one of Xiao Mei's arms. "Ah!" Xiao Mei screamed in a heart-wrenching voice. "Ha ha! I knew you wouldn't dare to kill me! When my father comes, I'll break every bone in your body. I'll make you wish you were dead! Don't dare to kill you! You're too confident!" Lin Xian sneered as he shattered Xiao Mei's body. Pun! In an instant, all the bones in Xiao Mei's body were shattered, and the spiritual sea in her dantian was broken. Ah! At this moment, Xiao Mei finally felt fear. Without her cultivation, she was a cripple. If that was really the case, she might as well die. In the distance, Granny Silver and the other 2 were also shocked. They didn't think that Lin Xian would really kill her. In the sky, another violent energy wave came. Boundless spiritual chi swept out in all directions, and the entire sky was quickly destroyed, forming a huge black hole. The king's aura that had been suppressing everyone's hearts also gradually disappeared. Countless people looked up at the sky, their faces full of shock. The 2 figures in the sky gradually faded, as if they were about to disappear. Looking at this scene, everyone was shocked. It seemed that the king's aura had disappeared. If that was really the case, then they could all enter the black cauldron. Lin Xian's face changed. It seemed that the king's avatar and Niwa of Gojoseon's remnant soul had perished together. Shaoli and the others would most likely enter soon. Thinking of this, Lin Xian took the dying Xiao Mei and quickly ran into the distance. However, just as he moved, the void suddenly split open, and a terrifying fist smashed towards him. The power was extremely shocking. It was like a black flood dragon. It was powerful to the extreme. Lin Xian's body suddenly tensed up. He felt a wave of deathly energy that seemed to want to tear him apart. In that instant, he quickly used the Red Lotus battle armor and the illusory demonic steps to retreat. However, he was still hit by the fist. Lin Xian's body trembled, and he quickly flew back. Luckily, the Red Lotus battle armor was extremely powerful and blocked most of the power. Otherwise, his body would have been torn apart. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lin Xian coldly looked ahead. Countless cracks appeared on the Red Lotus battle armor in front of his chest, as if it was about to break apart. One could only imagine how terrifying that fist was. There was only one person who could put Lin Xian in such danger, and that was Blackwater City's city lord, Shaoli. As expected, the void rippled, and Shaoli quickly flew over. He grabbed the dying Xiao Mei and threw her to Granny Silver and the others. He then turned around and gloomily looked at Lin Xian. The killing intent on his body surged, turning into sharp blades that pierced through the void. "Brat, you're the first person who dared to provoke my Blackwater City. I'll let you know what regret is!" Shaoli coldly harumphed and once again waved his fist. A terrifying energy filled the entire space and pressed down on Lin Xian. Chapter 888. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He quickly summoned his ice lotus martial soul and placed it in front of him. The blue lotus spun and turned into 9 blue ice swords that slashed forward. Bang! 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 That fist was too terrifying. It directly shattered the 9 blue ice swords. Then, the fist landed on the blue martial spirit and sent it flying. Puff! Lin Xian groaned and spat out another mouthful of blood. A 4th-rank honorable was indeed powerful. With his current strength, he was no match for him. Unless he summoned his great dragon sword soul and fought with his life on the line. Kid, hand over the item and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Xiao Li's voice was cold as he walked over. Lin Xian's eyes darkened. He kept his ice lotus martial soul and prepared to summon his great dragon sword soul. However, neither of them noticed that the blood dripping from Lin Xian's mouth landed on the crystal skull in his hand and quickly merged with it. At that moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Several powerful auras rushed over. Junior brother Lin, we're here to help you. Suddenly, the void behind them was torn apart rapidly. Several figures arrived in the vicinity in an instant, as fast as lightning. In a flash, Bing Ling and the others appeared. They came to Lin Xian's side and looked at Xiao Li and the others warily. How dare you hurt a disciple of Senma College? We'll remember this, Bing Ling said coldly. Yan Lin also said coldly. Blackwater City, right? Wait for the anger of Senma College. Dongfang Phoenix and the others looked at Xiao Li angrily. Ha ha ha, today is the day you die. As long as you're all dead, no one will know that I killed you. No matter how powerful those old freaks of Senma College are, they won't be able to find me. Xiao Li's expression became ferocious. Dozens of martial artists rushed out from behind him and formed a huge arc that sealed the entire space. Today, I'll show you how powerful I am. In the face of absolute power, all geniuses and talents are useless. Xiao Li took a step forward, and the aura on his body exploded like a flash flood. Terrifying and vast spiritual energy gushed out quickly, easily tearing the void apart. Previously, I was just playing with you. Now I will let you know the true strength of a 4th-level venerable. Xiao Li floated in the air and looked down. His expression was disdainful and his aura was incomparably violent. Previously, he had not used his full strength. Now that he had used his full strength, the momentum was extremely terrifying. Even if Bing Ling and the other 4 joined forces, they would not be able to resist. At this moment, Granny Silver also said in a deep voice, City Lord, the young lady's cultivation has been crippled by that brat, and all the bones in her body have been shattered. If there isn't any heaven-defying spiritual medicine, I'm afraid there's nothing she can do. Hearing this, Xiao Li's pupils abruptly shrank as a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. His originally dignified face was now incomparably distorted. He stared coldly at Lin Xian. Brat, I won't kill you. I will cripple your martial arts, break all the bones in your body, and let you live like a dog. The harm you've done to Mayor, I will return it 100-fold. Humph, what's so great about being a 4th-level venerable? Catch me first. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His expression was extremely solemn, but there was not much respect in his voice. If he was really forced into a corner, he would just summon the great dragon sword soul regardless of the consequences and fight with his life. Although his opponent was powerful, he did not believe that his opponent could withstand the attack of the great dragon sword soul if he did not care about his life. However, that kind of consumption would be too great. Once Lin Xian used it, he would be extremely weak. Obviously, he could not use it casually in a place full of danger. However, if his opponent really forced him into a corner, he would drag his opponent down with him even if he had to die. Humph. Shameless boasting. I'll let you know the difference between us. Xiao Li's expression was cold as he stretched out his palm. A terrifying aura filled the air. That fist was too terrifying, and the energy it carried made Lin Xian and the other four feel fearful. "Let's attack together," Bing Ling shouted and waved the icy spring staff in her hand. It formed an ice mountain and blasted upwards. At the same time, Dongfang Feng Huang and the others also attacked with powerful attacks. Countless rays of light shone, and a deafening roar sounded. Various rays of light shot up into the sky as if the entire void was about to explode. However, what shocked the five of them was that under their terrifying attacks, the fist was not hindered at all. It blasted towards them quickly. How terrifying! Bing Ling and the others' pupils shrank as they kept retreating. Was this the power of a level 4 honorable realm? It was indeed powerful. Even if they attacked with all their might, it would be difficult for them to resist. Boom! The terrifying fist landed, and the power directly shattered the void. The energy shockwave struck everyone, causing quite a bit of damage. Bing Ling and the others cried out and spat out a mouthful of blood. They looked up in horror. A bunch of ants who don't know what's good for them. This is the difference between honorables. Shaoli put his hands behind his back with a look of disdain. As the honorable realm increased, the difference between each level would become greater. In other words, it would be more difficult to challenge someone of a higher level. Unless one was an extremely monstrous genius or a martial artist who had a precious treasure in his hands, he would be able to challenge someone of a higher level. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for anyone to break through the shackles of this level. Kid, hand over the treasure in your hands, and I can consider giving you a quick death. Otherwise, I will let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. These companions of yours will accompany you to experience endless pain. Lin Xian raised his head, and his eyes flashed. It seemed that he could only use the great dragon sword soul. However, after using this power, he would become weak. But now, he could not care less. If he wanted to live, he had to get rid of Shaoli. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian quickly activated the longevity incantation and prepared to use the great dragon sword soul. However, in the next moment, the crystal skull in his hand was dyed red with blood and emitted a dazzling light. The entire space was dyed red by a layer of crimson light. Then, the space trembled slightly. At first, it was very weak, but it gradually became stronger. It was as if someone was shaking the entire black cauldron. Even the surrounding spiritual chi was boiling violently. This unforeseen event directly alarmed everyone. The faces of the martial artists who had just entered changed, and they all looked around nervously. They were really afraid of being tortured by the black demonic beasts. They were afraid that something strange would happen again. In the void, Shaoli did not make a move. Instead, his face was gloomy and his eyes quickly scanned the surroundings. He did not expect this to happen. Bing Ling and the others were even more shocked. They quickly gathered together and prepared to deal with the unexpected situation. Lin Xian frowned because he had already noticed the abnormality of the crystal skull in his hand. "Kid, hurry up and leave this black cauldron!" The Crimson Dragon quickly transmitted a message, and there was a trace of anxiety in its voice. Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. "Hurry up and say that! Hurry up and leave here!" Then, his body swayed and he flew up. Bing Ling and the others were stunned for a moment, and then quickly followed behind Lin Xian. Chapter 889. Countless things had proven that Lin Xian's choice was correct. This time, they did not hesitate and quickly followed behind Lin Xian, preparing to leave. "Want to leave? Not so easy!" Seeing Lin Xian and the others leaving, Shaoli snorted and stretched out his hand, wanting to grab them. The void fluctuated, and a black palm covered the sky, grabbing at Lin Xian and the others. The 5 fingers were like 5 dragons, roaring ferociously with a terrifying momentum. However, in the next moment, an even more terrifying force exploded. The surrounding spiritual energy quickly condensed, forming a black storm that swept through the 9 heavens. The momentum was countless times more terrifying than Shaoli's palm. In an instant, the black dragon hand formed by Shaoli was shattered by the black storm. "What kind of power is this? It's so terrifying!" Seeing his attack being shattered, Xiao Li's pupils shrank, and his expression was full of shock. One had to know that he had used all his strength just now. At the same time, the walls of the black cauldron emitted bursts of light, forming mysterious ancient characters with a mysterious aura. Mysterious ancient characters appeared inside the black cauldron, enveloping the surroundings and emitting a mysterious aura. Could it be that this black cauldron is the unique treasure of the king's treasure? Xiao Li was shocked and doubtful. He had received orders from above to obtain the unique treasure of the king's treasure. Originally, he had thought that it was the crystal skull in Lin Xian's hand, but now it seemed that it was not so. The mysterious aura emitted by this black cauldron was too strange. It was very likely that it was the unique treasure of the king's treasure. Feeling the terrifying aura emitted by the mysterious ancient characters, Xiao Li was even more certain of his guess. However, soon, his expression became extremely ugly because the aura emitted by this black cauldron was too terrifying. He could not bear it, let alone obtain it. Perhaps only a king could do it. The corner of Xiao Li's mouth twitched as he felt his scalp go numb. In the next moment, he waved his sleeve as well and led the people of Blackwater City into the sky. If they didn't leave now, they might be crushed into meat paste by the mysterious power inside. Lin Xian and the others were the first to move, so they took the lead and flew towards the exit. However, in the next moment, the huge black cauldron suddenly vibrated and rapidly expanded. The exit, which was originally close at hand, was once again pulled apart. What? Upon seeing this scene, Lin Xian's small face also collapsed, revealing a trace of helplessness. This situation was too strange, and he was simply unable to control it. Brat, hurry up and protect yourself. I'm afraid this space will be destroyed by the black cauldron soon, the Crimson Dragon said. Now that they had entered the king's treasure, it was not on the real world, but in a strange independent space. But now, the Crimson Dragon said that the space was about to shatter. It was too shocking, but he didn't doubt the Crimson Dragon's words. The Crimson Dragon was an old monster that had lived for thousands of years. In the next moment, he stopped flying, and quickly gathered with Bing Ling and the others. Be careful, all of you. Hurry up and activate your strongest defenses. This space won't be able to hold on for long. Lin Xian revealed a shocking piece of news. Hearing this, Bing Ling and the others were shocked, and their faces were full of disbelief. They didn't know how Lin Xian knew this news, but looking at his expression, it didn't seem like he was joking. The space will shatter? Everyone gasped. If that was really the case, they were afraid that they would be greatly affected. Don't hesitate anymore, quickly use your strongest skills, Lin Xian said quickly. Then, Bing Ling and the others nodded and used their life-saving skills. Lin Xian also used his spiritual energy, quickly forming a huge shadow of the Crimson Lotus armor, covering Bing Ling and the others. Behind them, Xiao Li and the others stopped running. Instead, they released their powerful spiritual energy, forming a solid defense, covering the people of Blackwater City. In an instant, in the huge black cauldron, every warrior formed a strong defense to protect their lives. The huge black cauldron trembled more and more violently, and it kept expanding, as if it was going to break the sky. At this moment, all the warriors in the king's treasure space raised their heads in horror. Looking at this horrifying scene, their bodies kept trembling, not knowing what was going on. In the next moment, cracks appeared in the sky like broken glass. The terrifying cracks spread in all directions, making cracking sounds. Bang! In the end, the sky couldn't bear the impact, and a huge black vortex appeared, swallowing everything. Blackwater River Basin. The black water roared and surged. At this moment, above the Blackwater River, the void suddenly shattered, and a huge black hole appeared. Then, a huge cauldron appeared, like a black demonic mountain. It quickly flew out of the black hole and hit the ground. Like a comet hitting the ground, the huge black cauldron landed, triggering a terrifying force that shook all directions. Suddenly, a horrifying pit appeared on the ground, and cracks that were almost 10,000 feet long spread in all directions. Not only that, but the trembling force also spread, causing the river to surge, forming waves that were almost 1,000 meters high. The surrounding mountains were also shattered by this force. This scene directly shocked the surrounding warriors. Countless people were like frightened rabbits, fleeing into the distance. When they arrived at a safe place, they stopped and looked ahead in horror. However, what happened next shocked them even more. The black vortex in the sky was spinning, and countless people were spewing out like raindrops. These people were the ones who had entered the king's treasure secret realm. Lin Xian and the others were pushed by a chaotic force of space. The force hit the Red Lotus armor, making a rumbling sound. Fortunately, the Red Lotus armor was strong enough to resist it. Otherwise, the turbulence of space alone would have killed them. Sure enough, screams could be heard from time to time. Those were the warriors who couldn't resist the turbulence of space and were killed by that violent and strange force. Bang! Lin Xian and the others quickly left the black vortex and appeared above the Blackwater River. Lin Xian controlled the Red Lotus armor and quickly stabilized his body. Beside him, Bing Ling and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. The scene just now was too frightening. Even now, they still had lingering fears. Putting away the Red Lotus armor, Lin Xian and the others flew to the side. At this moment, countless people came out of the black vortex. Seeing that they were not dead, they all exclaimed in excitement. However, the next moment, they all looked at the huge black cauldron in front of them with deep fear in their eyes. Looking at the huge black cauldron, Dongfang Phoenix's beautiful eyes flashed. She exclaimed in a low voice, "What is that thing? It can even break the space created by a king? This thing can't be a king rare treasure, right?" Chapter 890. Upon hearing this, Bing Ling and the others were shocked. They thought that the crystal skull in Lin Xian's hand was a rare treasure, but they did not expect the real treasure to be the giant black cauldron. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together, and his expression was grave. He did not expect the rare treasure to be the giant black cauldron, but the crystal skull in his hand was not an ordinary item. If the crystal skull had not been activated, the giant black cauldron would not have changed like this. However, the aura of the giant black cauldron was too terrifying. He could not even get close to it, let alone have any ideas about it. Shaking his head, Lin Xian did not intend to take it. Instead, he said in a low voice, "We should take this opportunity to leave. Otherwise, we will be in trouble when Blackwater City realizes what is going on. As for the rest, we should wait until the situation is clear." Bing Ling and the others nodded in agreement. Indeed, the current situation was extremely unfavorable for them. Moreover, the giant black cauldron was too strange. Its aura was filled with a murderous aura, and it did not seem like a normal treasure. However, just as Lin Xian was about to leave, the crystal skull in his hand suddenly trembled, as if it was affected by the giant black cauldron. It produced a mysterious power. The power was filled with murderous aura, and it quickly rushed into his body as if it wanted to take control of him. "Not good!" Lin Xian's face changed. In the next moment, he pushed the dragon sword soul with all his strength, forming countless sword auras that wandered around his body. The sharp sword aura exploded and destroyed the murderous aura. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. It was too scary. Fortunately, he had the dragon sword soul, which could destroy everything. Otherwise, he would have become a killing machine that only knew how to kill. "Damn it, what the hell is this thing?" Lin Xian's face was ugly, and he had an impulse to throw the crystal skull away. "What's wrong?" Bing Ling saw Lin Xian's strange behavior, and a trace of worry flashed in her beautiful eyes. "Nothing, let's go." Lin Xian shook his head and took a deep breath. The dragon sword soul in his body was spinning rapidly, forming sword auras that covered his body. He did this to prevent the previous incident from happening again. Then, he stomped his foot and flew into the distance. On the other side of the Blackwater River, Shaoli led the people from Blackwater City out of the Black Whirlpool. He looked in the direction where Lin Xian and the others had disappeared with a gloomy expression. Now, he understood that the crystal skull in Lin Xian's hand was most likely related to the black cauldron. In other words, it was the key to opening the Black Cauldron. With his current strength, subduing the Black Cauldron was undoubtedly a pipe dream. However, it would be different with the crystal skull. Perhaps with a little research, he would be able to find a solution. When he thought of this, his eyes burned with passion as he stared at Lin Xian once more. He had to get that crystal skeleton. In the next moment, Shaoli waved his sleeve and released his clansmen from the defense. Then, he turned into a black dragon and chased after Lin Xian. Lin Xian and the others flew in the opposite direction of the Black Cauldron. However, not long after, he once again felt the invasion of a murderous aura. Fortunately, he had defended himself in advance. The dragon's sword soul in his body surged and quickly destroyed the murderous aura. However, the crystal skull in his hand shone even brighter, especially in its two eye sockets. Two blood-red flames formed and danced. In the next moment, the Black Cauldron in the distance trembled again. Suddenly, the entire Black Water River became a scene of chaos. Countless mountains collapsed and the ground cracked. Thousands of meters of cracks appeared, forming countless abysses. In the distance, the Black River surged and roared, creating huge waves. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The surrounding cultivators were terrified and fled. Although they had guessed that the Black Cauldron was a king rare treasure, they did not have the ability to take it. In midair, Shaoli stopped chasing and revealed himself. He looked at the trembling Black Cauldron with a gloomy expression. He did not know what had happened, but he had an extremely bad feeling in his heart. Sure enough, in the next moment, the Black Cauldron trembled and rose from the ground. It turned into a ray of black light and instantly disappeared. Only a terrifying deep pit and countless cracks were left behind. What? Seeing this scene, Shaoli's pupils constricted, and his face was filled with shock. His face was gloomy. He extended his soul power and quickly sensed. However, he had searched 1,000 miles, and there was no trace of the Black Cauldron at all. The surrounding people were also terrified. They stared blankly at this scene, not knowing what had happened. Could it be that the king rare treasure had been taken away by someone? Shaoli's face was gloomy. If that was the case, then the person who had come was extremely terrifying. He was at least a 7th heaven venerable, or even stronger. He could not afford to offend such an expert at all. However, the king rare treasure had been ordered by the palace of gods of war. He had to get it. If he could not do it, the consequences would be dire. Thinking of this, Shaoli's face became extremely ugly. If he could not complete the mission, he would probably end up in a miserable state. Even if his father was an elder in the palace of gods of war, he might not be able to save him. Moreover, what was even more tragic was that he did not know where the Black Cauldron had gone. Was it taken away by someone, or did it fly away on its own? Although the Black Cauldron was gone, the crystal skull was still there. If he could get the crystal skull, he might be able to find the Black Cauldron. If he could not, he could hand it over to the palace of gods of war. Perhaps he would be forgiven. Thinking of this, Shaoli heaved a sigh of relief. Now, it seemed that the crystal skull was his only hope. Lin Xian, the Black Cauldron! Shaoli's eyes were cold as he roared. The crystal skull was in the hands of the other party. As long as he could capture the other party, he would be able to obtain it. In the next moment, he moved and quickly flew into the distance. In front of him, Lin Xian and the other 4 were flying at an extremely fast speed like 5 streams of light. Suddenly, Lin Xian's body shook and his face became extremely pale. The spiritual energy in his body also quickly stopped as if it had frozen. Lin Xian felt a huge pressure enveloping his body, as if it was going to tear him apart. His body also became stiff, as if he could not control it. What's going on? A look of horror appeared in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and used the last of his spiritual energy to quickly summon the golden-feathered mystical eagle. Bang! The golden-feathered mystical eagle spread its wings and appeared under his feet. Then, Lin Xian lay on the back of the mystical eagle, panting non-stop. At that moment, he felt like he was about to die. Moreover, he could not exert any strength in his body. If it was not for his fast speed, he would have fallen. Falling from such a high altitude was no joke. If he fell to his death, it would be a big joke. Seeing this, Bing Ling, Dongfang Phoenix, and the rest were shocked. They quickly landed on the back of the golden-feathered mystical eagle and asked anxiously, "What happened to you? Are you okay? You look so pale. Were you injured earlier?" Chapter 891. It's nothing. I'll be fine after some rest. During this time, please protect me. Lin Xian's face was as pale as paper, and beads of sweat rolled down his cheeks. Don't worry. As long as we're here, we won't let you get hurt. Bing Ling nodded solemnly. Thank you very much. Lin Xian quickly sat down with his legs crossed and closed his eyes. He quickly checked the situation in his body and was shocked. There was a small black cauldron in his body, emitting a terrifying aura. Seeing this, Lin Xian almost bit his tongue. Although the black cauldron had shrunk countless times, he recognized it at a glance. It was the giant black cauldron that had broken through the king's space. Damn it, what's going on? How did it get into my body? Lin Xian's face was extremely ugly. He realized that the reason why his body was stiff and his spiritual power was disappearing was most likely caused by the small black cauldron. Moreover, the evil aura emitted by the cauldron was too strong. Even with the great dragon sword soul, it was difficult to resist. It wasn't that the great dragon sword soul was inferior to the cauldron, but Lin Xian's current cultivation was unable to unleash the full power of the great dragon sword soul. However, he gritted his teeth and pushed the great dragon sword soul forward with all his might. Fortunately, the great dragon sword soul's offensive saint technique was able to cut off some of the evil aura even though Lin Xian couldn't fully unleash it. At least, it could allow the spiritual power in his body to circulate again. Feeling that his body was full of spiritual power again, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. However, he still looked at the small black cauldron with a worried expression. Rosalong, what the hell is this? Do you know? Lin Xian asked through telepathy. If I'm not wrong, this small black cauldron should be the legendary 10,000 bee sting. 10,000 bee sting? What's that? Lin Xian was puzzled. He remembered that the small black cauldron was engraved with all kinds of rare beasts. If it's really 10,000 bee sting, then it should be an Earth-level treasure. And it's complete. A complete Earth-step artifact. Lin Xian was so shocked that he almost cried out. He was truly too shocked. After all, the Lone Star Sword was only a fragment of an Earth-rank treasure, yet it was already terrifying to such an extent. One could imagine how formidable a true Earth-rank treasure would be. But now, there was actually an Earth-rank artifact in his body. Lin Xian couldn't believe it. If news of this were to spread, perhaps even King Tears would hunt him down. At this time, the Crimson Dragon spoke again. If my guess is correct, the crystal skull in your hand should be the corpse of Niwa of Gojoseon, and the 10,000 bee sting should be the weapon of Niwa of Gojoseon when he was alive. That's why the two have such a connection. Lin Xian was silent. He realized that if this was the case, then everything seemed to make sense. First of all, the Black Cauldron was an Earth-rank treasure, a legendary king-tier treasure. This treasure was probably left behind by Niwa of Gojoseon when he fell. It was sealed away, waiting for a fated person to obtain it. And Lin Xian seemed to be the fated person. However, he wasn't happy at all. In fact, he was on the verge of tears. Although this Earth-rank treasure was good, he couldn't control it at all. Not to mention controlling it, just the aura alone was enough to almost tear his body apart. No matter how good this treasure was, he needed to be alive to take it. Be content. If others knew that you had a complete Earth-rank treasure and had such an expression, perhaps all the king tiers in the world would hunt you down. How about I give it to you? If you can get it out of here, then it's yours. Lin Xian sighed. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon trembled. Its eyes were burning with passion. This was an Earth-rank treasure, and a complete one at that. One had to know that the value of this treasure was unimaginable. If news of this spread, all the King Tiers would go crazy. Even the Crimson Dragon didn't have a complete Earth-rank treasure when it was at its peak. It could be imagined how precious a complete Earth-rank treasure was. If he could obtain it, he would definitely be able to suppress everyone. But thinking of his own situation, the Crimson Dragon immediately drooped his head. His cultivation was only around the first layer of the Venerable Realm. He couldn't even compare to Lin Xian, let alone obtain the Black Cauldron. Forget it. This thing is too hot to handle. Help me keep it first. It won't be too late to ask for it after I recover my dragon essence. The Crimson Dragon laughed mischievously. F***ck. Lin Xian was so angry that he stomped his foot. He had the urge to curse, but then he took a deep breath. Let's not talk about messing around. Seriously, what should I do with this thing? It's been in my body all this time, and I can't use my strength at all. I think you can try to give up resisting. The Crimson Dragon shrugged. In the past, this dragon heard a saying. If you can't resist, then just enjoy it. It's talking about your current state. Damn you! Lin Xian was so angry that he almost went berserk. Seeing that Lin Xian was anxious, the Crimson Dragon didn't joke around. Instead, he said in a deep voice, I'm serious. You can really give up resisting temporarily and let this fiendish aura fill your entire body. Then I'll die. Lin Xian's face darkened. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that this Ruslan was trying to harm him. You won't die so easily. At least, this Black Cauldron won't take your life. Don't forget, what else do you have in your body? You mean, that mysterious little sword? Lin Xian's heart shook. He suddenly remembered that there was an ancient little sword in his body. It was incomparably mysterious. That little sword was originally a pendant given to him by his father. Later, it entered his body, and with that mysterious little sword, he was able to cultivate. Furthermore, it was also in that mysterious little sword that Lin Xian met Lord Alcohol and began his counterattack. By the way, what exactly is that little glazed sword in my body? Lin Xian asked with a voice transmission. About that, I've checked it many times, but I can't tell. However, I can tell that it's definitely something from the primordial era, the Crimson Dragon said with lingering fear. He had once checked Lin Xian's body. When he saw the mysterious little sword in his body, he was shocked. He tried to approach it, but he was nearly scared out of his wits. The mysterious little sword was too terrifying. It was even more terrifying than the aura emitted by the dragon sword soul. I think that as long as we let the fiendish aura provoke the mysterious little sword, with its strength, we can definitely suppress 10,000 bee sting. Lin Xian nodded. There was no better way at the moment, so he could only give it a try. Furthermore, the most mysterious thing in his body was that little glazed sword. It was even more mysterious than the dragon sword soul. Let's go all out. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and decided to do as the Crimson Dragon said. He really had no other choice. He couldn't use much strength in his current state. Furthermore, he was in an extremely dangerous situation. There was no telling when Shaoli would catch up. Therefore, he had to get rid of the little Black Cauldron as soon as possible. In the next moment, Lin Xian activated the Dragon Sword Soul and withdrew all the sharp sword aura. He was in a relaxed state. As if it sensed the disappearance of the sword intent, the little Black Cauldron trembled slightly. Then, it emitted an even more terrifying light. Waves of black aura flowed wildly like a black torrent, quickly filling his body. The little Black Cauldron transformed into a black light and charged towards the Spirit Sea. Chapter 892. Lin Xian did not know that the moment he withdrew the great dragon sword soul, countless black gas instantly covered his body and formed dark demonic runes on his body. It was extremely terrifying. This scene startled Bing Ling and the others. They looked at Lin Xian in shock, not knowing what to do. Bing Ling's mouth was slightly agape, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. Although she didn't know what had happened to Lin Xian, just looking at the black demonic patterns that had formed on the surface of Lin Xian's body was enough to make them feel incomparably terrified. Could it be that he had been attacked by the demonic aura from the Black Cauldron? Dongfang Phoenix was also shocked. Let's go. Let's go to a safe place and then hurry back to the college. I feel that junior brother Lin is in a very dangerous state, Bing Ling said in a low voice. Finally, she tried to communicate with the golden-feathered sacred eagle to increase its speed. The golden-feathered sacred eagle seemed to have sensed Lin Xian's state. It suddenly screeched and flapped its wings, increasing its speed and flying into the distance. However, just as it increased its speed, there was a sudden air-rending sound from above. The void was mercilessly torn apart, and a black fist, like a huge mountain, came crashing down. The aura was too terrifying. Bing Ling and the rest instantly tensed up. Not good. Quick, defend! Bing Ling shouted and then waved the ice staff in her hand, forming a layer of ice mist and blocking the sky. Dongfang Phoenix and the rest also took action. Dazzling rays of light superimposed on the ice mountain. In the next moment, the black shadow came crashing down. The terrifying force forced Bing Ling and the rest to retreat. Even the golden-feathered sacred eagle screeched and fell rapidly. Bing Ling and the rest turned pale and quickly stopped themselves. They then looked up solemnly. There was a black shadow there. He was wearing a long black robe with 3 golden dragons on it. They were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. He was extremely arrogant. Shao Li! When they saw the black shadow, Bing Ling and the rest's faces turned ugly. Hee, you guys ran pretty fast. But do you think you can escape from me? Shao Li said coldly. He looked around and saw the figure sitting cross-legged below. A sharp light shone from him. He had finally found Lin Xian. Oh no, I'm afraid his target is junior brother Lin. Bing Ling's face darkened when she saw the other's greedy eyes. What should we do now? Yang Linwen asked. Junior sister Dongfang, you take Lin Xian and leave first. The 3 of us will hold this guy back. In his current state, Lin Xian couldn't make a move at all, and they couldn't just watch Lin Xian get caught, so they could only let Dongfang Phoenix take Lin Xian away first. But Dongfang Phoenix looked at Bing Ling and the other 2 worriedly. Don't hesitate. If you hesitate any longer, I'm afraid none of you will be able to leave, Bing Ling said coldly. Although she was a girl, she was very decisive at this time. All right, then you must be careful. Dongfang Fengwang also knew the urgency of the situation. She gritted her teeth and said quickly. Then she turned around and landed on the golden feather godly condor. She quickly urged it to fly away. You want to leave? How laughable! Seeing the golden stream of light, Shao Li grinned and stretched out his palm quickly. Your opponent is us. Bing Ling snorted and the aura in her body exploded. An unusually cold air filled the entire space. Yang Lin and Yi Yan also attacked with all their might. They attacked together and blocked the black hand. You're courting death. Seeing that the other party dared to block his attack, Shao Li's face darkened and killing intent surged in his eyes. Anyway, that brat can't escape from me. I'll deal with you guys first, then I'll kill that brat. Shao Li turned around and stared at Bing Ling and the other 2 with a cruel smile on his face. A large black flag appeared in his hand. On the flag there were 3 ferocious dragons circling around, emitting a terrifying and vast aura. Let's attack together, don't hold back. Bing Ling shouted and the aura in her body exploded again. The space behind her fluctuated and an ice blue throne appeared. It was crystal clear and emitted a piercing chill. Ice ceiling throne, that was her martial soul. Facing a rank 4 honorable, Bing Ling didn't dare to be careless. Therefore, she immediately summoned her martial soul. A large ice throne appeared behind Bing Ling and emitted a terrifying icy aura. In the next moment, she sat on the ice throne like a queen. With the ice scepter in her hand, she was like the ice goddess who had descended to the world. She waved the ice scepter, and cold air gathered to form an icy wind that rushed forward. Yan Lin also summoned his martial soul. The muscles on his body bulged, and he was like a giant, filled with explosive power. His martial soul was a mountain peak that emitted yellow light. There were mysterious runes on it, and it emitted a heaviness that could crush the sky. Yang Lin raised his hands and attacked his opponents with a force that was as heavy as 10,000 pounds. A purple eye appeared behind Yi Yan. It was extremely strange and had a soul aura that made people tremble. The purple eye shone and formed a purple ray that surged forward. The three of them summoned their martial souls at the same time and attacked with powerful attacks. A bunch of ants, how dare you compete with the sun and moon? Shaoli said with disdain. So what if you summon your martial souls? He waved the black flag in his hand and black smoke instantly covered the surroundings like a demon. The three dragons roared ferociously and pounced toward Bing Ling and the other two. Boom! Terrifying energy exploded and instantly flooded the space. On the other side, Dong Fong Feng Wang rode the golden feathered divine eagle and flew quickly. Lin Xian sat cross-legged on the back of the divine eagle with his eyes closed. In his body, the black cauldron emitted a murderous aura. It was like a black wave that swam quickly in his spiritual meridians. The aura was extremely terrifying and it could confuse people's minds and turn them into killing machines. In an instant, Lin Xian suffered great pain. Fortunately, he had a strong will and was able to endure it. The black cauldron turned into a black light and rushed toward his spiritual sea. The spiritual sea was the source of a martial artist's strength. The black cauldron wanted to occupy it. However, there was a small glazed sword floating in the air above the spiritual sea. It was located right above the spirit sea. Seeing that the best spot was occupied, the black cauldron started to buzz and emitted a black light. It was obviously furious. Boom! It turned into a black light again and rushed toward the small glazed sword, trying to drive it away. A low voice sounded in Lin Xian's body and echoed continuously. The black cauldron was quickly pushed back. Above the spiritual sea, the small glazed sword was still hovering quietly. It was obvious that the attack just now did not cause any damage to it. This immediately angered the black cauldron. It was an Earth-class treasure, and a complete one at that. Who in the world would dare to go against it? In the next moment, it emitted a dazzling light. All kinds of rare beasts swam around the cauldron and roared. It was obvious that it wanted to use all its strength to drive away the despicable guy. Chapter 893. An abnormally ferocious aura appeared, causing Lin Xian to feel even more pain. Above his spirit sea, the small glazed sword seemed to feel the provocation of this aura and began to tremble slightly. Light flowed on the sword, forming a huge devouring power that seemed to be able to swallow everything. It quickly enveloped the small black cauldron. In the next moment, the ferocious aura was swallowed up. The small black cauldron let out a buzzing sound as if it was frightened. It turned into a black light and rushed out of Lin Xian's body, wanting to leave this place. However, the small glazed sword would not give it the chance. Since it had been activated, there was no reason to stop. A huge devouring power instantly enveloped the small black cauldron and pulled it back. The small black cauldron was pulled back at an even faster speed and crashed into the small glazed sword. However, there was no earth-shattering collision. Instead, it seemed to have disappeared without a trace. At the same time, a huge black cauldron appeared in the space inside the mysterious small sword and crashed to the ground. As soon as it landed, the small black cauldron struggled with all its might as if it wanted to rush out. However, there seemed to be a mysterious power that confined it, preventing it from moving. Moreover, the entire space emitted a desolate aura that completely intimidated it. As the small black cauldron melted into the mysterious small sword, the ferocious aura in Lin Xian's body completely disappeared. His spiritual power was like a vast ocean, instantly recovering and filling every part of his body. A familiar and powerful power returned to his body once again. Success! Lin Xian was excited. Thinking about the scene just now, he still had lingering fears. Fortunately, the small glazed sword was extremely mysterious, and could suppress Earth-ranked treasures. At the same time, This aroused his curiosity. What exactly was that small glazed sword? How could it be so powerful? A complete Earth-rank treasure would not even have the slightest chance of resisting in front of it. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He swore that one day, he would uncover the secret of this mysterious small sword. With a thought, his spiritual power entered the space inside the small sword. Then, he found the 10,000 bee sting not far in front of him. This terrifying demonic cauldron had now returned to its original form. It was 2 meters tall and carved with all kinds of precious beasts that were vivid and lifelike. Unlike its violent and ferocious state from before, the tiny black cauldron was extremely quiet at this moment, and it seemed as if it had fallen into deep slumber once more. Looking at the complete Earth-rank treasured artifact, Lin Xian's eyes once again revealed a wisp of burning desire. He needed to quickly raise his cultivation base in order to be able to control this Earth-stepped treasure. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian looked around again. The space inside the mysterious sword was very strange. In his current state, he could only walk 1 or 2 meters. He clearly remembered that Lord Alcohol had charged into the depths of this space after recovering a portion of his strength. Therefore, the depths of this space was one of the places he had to go in the future. Of course, the prerequisite for all of this was to have great strength. This was also what Lin Xian was currently pursuing, and what he desired the most. The next moment, he exited the space and opened his eyes. "You're awake!" Dongfang Fenghuan exclaimed when she saw the demonic patterns on Lin Xian's body disappear. What happened? Why is it only you? Where are the others? Soon Dongfang Fenghuan told him what had happened. Lin Xian's face darkened when he heard that. That damned Shaoli was still chasing after him. Did he really think that he could kill him so easily? This time, no matter what price he had to pay, he had to summon the great dragon sword soul and kill Shaoli. "Let's go back and support them." Lin Xian stood up and controlled the golden-feathered divine eagle to fly back. The golden-feathered divine eagle screeched and quickly turned around. It transformed into a golden stream of light and flew back the way it had come. Just as Lin Xian was rushing back with all his might, Bing Ling and the others were engaged in an extremely intense battle with Shaoli. Shaoli waved the black flag, and 3 flood dragons circled around him, releasing a powerful aura. On the other side, Bing Ling and the others were pale and covered in injuries. They had no choice. The other party was really too powerful. Even if the 3 of them joined forces, they could only fight to a draw. This was already very impressive. If it had been any other third-rank honorable, they would not have been able to withstand even one move. "You are indeed the geniuses of Senma College. You can actually withstand so many moves." Shaoli held the black flag in his hand, and a look of mockery appeared in his eyes. "I wonder how long you can last under such circumstances?" "Humph, we can't defeat you, but you can forget about capturing us," Bing Ling said coldly. She sat on the ice throne like a queen. "You don't know what's good for you. Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way." In the next moment, Shaoli's eyes focused, and the aura on his body exploded again. It swept across the sky like a violent storm. A low roar was heard, and a powerful figure condensed behind him. It was a giant purple python. Its body was covered in eerie scales, and it exuded a terrifying aura. This giant purple python was Shaoli's martial soul. After summoning his martial soul, Shaoli's strength surged again. He sneered and quickly attacked. He waved his arm, and a giant purple python rushed out. It was like a long purple river that stretched across the sky. This punch was infused with the power of his martial soul. It was extremely powerful and could suppress everything. "I'll fight you to the death!" Yang Lin roared and waved his martial soul, the yellow mountain peak, in front of him. Bang! A terrifying sound was heard, and it shook the 9 heavens. The two collided, and there was a dazzling explosion. In the next moment, Yang Lin's face changed. He felt that the power was like a vast ocean. It was vast, and it felt like it was going to tear his martial soul apart. In an instant, he could not hold on. Fortunately, Bing Ling and Yi Yan attacked at the same time. The blue ice throne flashed and formed an illusory blue figure that flew forward. At the same time, the purple evil eye in front of Yi Yan also emitted a purple spiral light, which flew out. Boom! The three of them attacked with all their might, and they quickly resisted Xiao Li's martial soul. Humph, open up! Xiao Li sneered with disdain. In the next moment, the giant purple python roared. Its huge tail was like a heavenly knife, and it whipped Bing Ling and the other two away. Bing Ling and the other two spat out mouthfuls of blood and flew a few hundred feet before they could stop. Then, their faces turned pale. A sense of helplessness rose in their hearts. The opponent was too strong, and he had a top spiritual treasure in his hand. The three of us were no match for him, Yi Yan said. After such a long time, I think Lin Xian must have gone far. How about this? The two of you go, and I'll stop him for a while. Yan Lin gritted his teeth. No, we have to go together. No one can stay behind. Bing Ling quickly shook her head. If the three of them fought alone, none of them would be a match for Xiao Li. If they stayed behind, they would be courting death. Even if we all stay, we can't defeat him. It's better to let one of us go. Stop talking. Let's attack together. Humph! You still want to fight? Go to hell! Xiao Li sneered. He stepped on the giant purple python and rushed forward. Chapter 894. With a wave of his hand, the purple snake opened its mouth and spat out 365 rays of purple light. Each ray was like a sword chi, and they quickly covered the entire sky. This was the power of a level 4 honorable realm. Compared to a level 3 honorable realm, there was a world of difference. Each ray of purple light in the sky could easily kill a level 3 honorable realm. When 365 rays of purple light appeared at the same time, their power was unimaginable. In an instant, the purple light engulfed Bing Bing and the others. Boom! Bing Ling and the other two tried their best to resist, but they were still sent flying. Blood splattered in the sky as the three of them tried their best to resist and roared in anger. Bing Ling's face was cold, and a red light appeared in her eyes. In the next moment, a red light rushed out from her body like a sun, and it quickly disappeared. Then, a powerful force exploded from her body. At this moment, she was sitting on the frozen throne with the icy spring staff in her hand. She was extremely cold. Not only that, an icy crown appeared on her forehead, containing a terrifying force. Bloodline power, I didn't expect you to have such a technique. Xiao Li was surprised, and then he showed a mocking expression. Fine, I'll play with you again. He shouted coldly and waved his arm again. 365 rays of purple light intertwined in the sky like a purple net, and they pressed down mercilessly. Ice bloodline, freeze thousands of miles. Bing Ling sat on the frozen throne like an ice queen. In the next moment, endless cold air exploded from her body and swept across the sky, freezing everything around her. Crack, crack, crack. The sky, earth, trees, mountains, and rivers were all frozen into ice. The 365 rays of purple light in the sky were also covered with a thick layer of frost. It's frozen! Yi Yan was excited. In the next moment, the frost in the sky quickly cracked, and the purple light released endless rays of light, and a sharp aura spread out in all directions. You're strong, but you're still no match for me. If you still have any tricks up your sleeves, use them now. Otherwise, die! Humph, watch my martial soul fusion! Yi Yan roared from behind and quickly merged with the evil purple eye. A ball of light exploded, and the evil purple eye flickered and quickly merged with his glabella, forming 3 vertical eyes. They were like the eyes of a demon god, and they emitted dazzling light. Bang! A faint purple light shot out from the evil purple eye. It contained a terrifying and strange aura as it streaked across the void. Pun! The faint purple light seemed very weak, but it easily tore the void apart and erupted with a powerful force. That force even surpassed that of a third heaven venerate. Thousand Snakes transformation, Purple sun illuminates the sky. On the other side, Shaoli also let out a cold shout and waved his hand. Immediately, 365 rays of purple light rapidly condensed in the sky, forming a round ball that hung in the air like a purple sun. The purple sun rotated and flew downwards, colliding with the faint purple light. Rumble! The two of them collided, and a violent shockwave spread out for thousands of miles. The terrifying collision caused dozens of mountains in the surroundings to be reduced to dust. The earth cracked open and extended into the distance. In the end, the two balls of purple light were smashed apart and turned into streams of light that dissipated into the air. However, Yi Yan let out a miserable shriek. Blood flowed out from the vertical purple evil eye between his brows. It was a ghastly sight. Are you all right? Yang Lin supported Yi Yan from the side, his expression full of worry. F***ck, let's fight it out with him. He finally couldn't take it anymore. With a roar, he rushed back with the yellow mountain in his hand. Bing Ling's expression changed drastically. She wanted to stop him, but it was too late. In the next moment, Yang Lin also spat out blood and flew back, smashing a terrifying deep hole in the ground. Humph, a bunch of ants. I've played enough. Go to hell! Shaoli laughed maliciously. He stepped on the purple python and flew towards Bing Ling and the other two. With a wave of his hand, he sent the three of them flying again. Bing Ling and the other two spat out blood, dyeing their clothes red. I won't kill you all at once. I'll torture you to death bit by bit. Looking at Bing Ling and the other two on the ground, Shaoli's eyes turned cold. He then clenched his fist, and the purple python under his feet quickly transformed into a long purple whip. The long whip danced and whipped Bing Ling, leaving a bloody mark on her body. Soon, Yang Lin and Yi Yan were hit a few times. What Senmu College? What peerless genius! Aren't you all in the palm of my hand? Shaoli held the purple whip in his hand and laughed loudly. His expression was full of arrogance. This is what you get for covering up for that kid! Then, Shaoli stopped laughing and stared at Bing Ling. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Not bad, not bad. You're quite pretty, and your figure is even better. I wonder what you'll look like later. He smiled evilly and walked towards Bing Ling. He waved the long whip in his hand and whipped Bing Ling. Her clothes were torn apart, revealing her snow-white skin. Bing Ling gritted her teeth and stared at him coldly. Her eyes were about to spit fire. I'll kill you! Seeing this, Yang Lin roared. Ignoring his injuries, he quickly got up and charged towards Shaoli. Humph! Trash! Shaoli sneered disdainfully and kicked Yang Lin to the ground. Then, he stared at Bing Ling again and walked over slowly. He raised his arm, and the purple whip shone brightly again. If this whip hit, it would tear Bing Ling's clothes apart. In the next moment, Shaoli sneered and waved the long whip. Bing Ling's eyes were unusually cold. She bit her lips tightly, and a trace of blood flowed down her chin. She had started to burn her blood force and was ready to fight with her life. Seeing the purple whip falling quickly, Bing Ling's eyes were filled with determination. She was going to fight with her life. At this moment, a sword radiance flashed across the void and hit the purple whip, sending it flying. What? Bing Ling was stunned. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. It was as if someone had pulled her up when she was drowning. That feeling restored her hope of survival. Yang Lin and Yi Yan exclaimed and heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Fortunately, she was sent flying. Otherwise, they could not imagine what would have happened. Shaoli's face was gloomy, and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. He was having fun, and he did not expect that someone would dare to stop him at this moment. That person must have a death wish. No matter who it was, they would die a horrible death if they dared to stop him. In the next moment, he looked around for the person who had attacked. Then, he stared at a place and was stunned. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. Brat, it's you! How dare you come back? Shaoli did not expect that the person who had attacked was Lin Xian. Lin Xian was the target that he had spent so much effort to find. Now that he was standing in front of him, alive and well, it felt great. Looks like I'm in luck. Even the heavens are helping me. He smiled maliciously. As long as he could capture Lin Xian and get the crystal skull, he would be able to report back and not be punished by the palace of gods of war. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He ignored Shaoli and turned around to look. When he saw the injuries on Bing Ling and the other two, his face twisted. Chapter 895. Dongfang Fenghuang cried out, and quickly flew to the three of them. She took out a piece of clothing and covered Bing Ling with it. Then, she took out some pills and fed them. Lin Xian came to Bing Ling and the other two and said in a low voice, "I've implicated you this time." Bing Ling and the others swallowed the pills and recovered a little. "Junior brother Lin, you shouldn't have come back. Hurry up and leave." Bing Ling shook her head and sighed. "Humph, what an idiot. You came here to die." Behind them, Shaoli sneered. "If that's the case, I don't mind taking your life. What's there to be arrogant about?" Dongfang Fenghuang snorted and gritted her teeth. "With the five of us working together, I don't believe we can't beat him." "No, I'll do it myself," Lin Xian said in a low voice. "Dongfang, take senior sister Bing Ling and the others and leave this place first." "You want to do it yourself? Stop fooling around. He's a 4th-level honored warrior," Dongfang Fenghuang said anxiously. Bing Ling frowned. "Junior brother Lin, now's not the time to be impulsive. Let's work together and leave this place. Don't worry, I won't do something that will cost my life. This time, it's because of me that everyone was seriously injured. I'll avenge everyone. Dongfang, take the others and leave quickly." Seeing Lin Xian's insistence, Dongfang Fenghuang kept shaking her head. Finally, she gritted her teeth. "All right, I'll take them to a safe place to watch the battle. If the situation doesn't look good, we'll take action immediately. Then, we'll work together and leave together." "Okay." Lin Xian nodded. "Ayaya, what a close relationship. How touching." Shaoli sneered disdainfully. "Have you decided? Who's going to die first?" "Humph, I'll deal with you alone." Seeing that Dongfang Fenghuang had retreated to a safe place with Bing Ling and the others, Lin Xian turned around. "You alone? You're overestimating yourself." Shaoli sneered and ignored Dongfang Fenghuang and the others. As long as he captured Lin Xian, he could take care of the others. "Brat, I have to say that you are very stupid. You knew that I was here to capture you, yet you still dared to come out. Hand over the crystal skeleton and I can give you a quick death." Shaoli didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. "Of all the things you shouldn't have done, you shouldn't have hurt my companion. Since you've done it, you should atone for your sins with your death." Lin Xian's expression was incomparably cold, as if he was the god of death. His body emitted a monstrous killing intent. This time, he was truly enraged. He reached out and pulled out the black package on his back, then slowly opened it. "Humph, no matter what you do, you won't be able to escape death today." Shaoli wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he had an expression of watching a show. That expression was like a cat playing with a mouse. He wanted to see what the other party was relying on to be so arrogant. Soon, Lin Xian opened the black bag and held the Lone Star sword in his hand. Clang! The long sword was unsheathed, bringing with it a blue light. It was like the sea of stars, incomparably deep. The moment the sword aura was unsheathed, the entire space became cold, as if countless sword auras had streaked across. Feeling this aura, Shaoli's face also darkened. His eyes flickered as he stared at the treasure sword in Lin Xian's hand. His breathing gradually became heavier. "This aura, that's right, a half-Earth-rank treasure. Ha ha!" Shaoli looked up to the sky and laughed, his voice filled with excitement. "A half-Earth-rank treasure, it's actually a half-Earth-rank treasure. Looks like my luck is really too good." He really didn't expect to encounter a half-Earth-rank treasure here. Moreover, this treasure was in the hands of a 2nd-level honorable. This was simply giving him a treasure. Kid, I really have to thank you for giving me such a precious treasure. I have to say, you're really a child of fortune. I'll accept this half-Earth-rank treasure. Xiao Li's expression was arrogant, and his face was filled with pride as if the Lone Star Sword was already his. Lin Xian didn't have any expression. He was incomparably cold, and his body was filled with killing intent. Those who hurt my companions die. His voice was cold as if he was announcing Xiao Li's death sentence. Humph, you overestimate yourself. I won't give you a chance to attack. Xiao Li snorted and flew out like a ghost. He had to quickly kill his opponent. Not only for the crystal skull, but just the half-Earth-rank treasure was enough to make him go crazy. His eyes emitted a terrifying light like a venomous snake, incomparably cold. Boom! When the terrifying palm struck out, the void collapsed. The power was too terrifying, and it was as if thousands of giant mountains were rampaging. Kill! Lin Xian also swung his sword. The power of the great dragon sword soul was stimulated to the extreme. His entire body was now like a peerless divine sword, unstoppable. In addition to the power of the Lone Star Sword in his hand, the sword was extremely sharp. The blood-red sword light swept across the sky like a river of blood, emitting a monstrous bloody aura that swept out in all directions. The terrifying sword intent even shot into the sky. Boom! The intense collision caused the sky to lose its color. Lin Xian took a step back. The sword light in his eyes flickered as he slashed out again. Damn it! On the opposite side, Xiao Li's face darkened. The previous attack was actually a draw? This greatly surprised him. Even if his opponent had the Lone Star Sword, it was impossible for him to compete with him. In the distance, Dongfang Phoenix and the rest were shocked when they saw this scene. Originally, they thought that Lin Xian was irrational to fight alone. Now that they saw this scene, they were relieved. Lin Xian, who used the Lone Star Sword, was actually able to compete with a 4th-rank Honorable Realm expert. This was undoubtedly great news. Xiao Li's face darkened. What a troublesome brat. But against me, he has no chance of winning. The half-Earth-rank treasure will definitely be mine. Purple Python Martial Soul, come out! Xiao Li roared angrily. His entire body's spiritual energy erupted like the source of a storm, releasing countless wind blades. Roar! A deep roar was heard. A huge purple python ferociously appeared. Its tail was like a heavenly blade, blasting away the blood-red sword chi in the void. Boom! The blood-red sword chi was deflected and slashed to the side. Instantly, a 1,000-meter-long crack was formed on the ground. It was bottomless and extremely terrifying. Hee hee, the power of a half-Earth-rank treasure is really enviable. Xiao Li's eyes were burning. However, such a treasure is really a waste in your hands. Only I can make it shine. He stood on the purple python and looked down at Lin Xian. Say this after you have the Lone Star Sword. Lin Xian roared and unleashed the great dragon sword soul to the extreme. Countless sword chi burst out from his body and swept in all directions. He held the Lone Star Sword in his hand and activated the great dragon sword soul, quickly charging forward. You still dare to attack? Fine, I'll show you the power of my martial soul. Xiao Li controlled the purple python and attacked as well. Boom! Rumble! An intense battle unfolded and the momentum was terrifying. Each of Lin Xian's sword attacks was extremely powerful, as if they could cut through everything. However, Xiao Li was not to be trifled with. As a rank 4 Honorable Realm expert, and at the same time, he had summoned his martial soul. His combat strength was also terrifying. The two of them attacked, and the sky darkened. The ground sank and countless rivers flowed. Boom! After another collision, Lin Xian was forced back. Ha ha ha, kid, what other moves do you have? Hurry up and use them. Otherwise, I'll take your life. Xiao Li stood on the purple python and exuded a terrifying killing intent. Although he was shocked that Lin Xian could fight against him, he had the upper hand in this battle. In other words, he could definitely kill Lin Xian. Even the Lone Star Sword won't work. Looks like I can only use that move. Lin Xian's eyes flickered and he took a deep breath. Chapter 896. In the sky, Shaoli stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes flashing coldly. His opponent was harder to deal with than he had expected. He hadn't expected a second firmament brat to be able to fight with him for so long. However, it was useless because he would be the final victor. It was just that the process was a little difficult, but when he thought about how he could get a half-Earth rank artifact after killing his opponent, his eyes burned with passion again. Lin Xian's expression was cold. It seemed that he could only use that move. Originally, he didn't want to use it, but now it seemed that the Lone Star Sword alone wouldn't be enough to kill his opponent. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian's great dragon sword spirit surged. Do you really think you have everything under control? Today, I'll let you see my martial soul! Lin Xian raised his head and said in a sonorous voice. Your martial soul, ahahaha! Shaoli was disdainful. What kind of martial soul could a second firmament venerate have? If Lin Xian used a half-Earth rank artifact, he might be able to contend with him. However, if he used his martial soul, he would be courting death. Martial souls were the source of power for venerates. There was a world of difference between martial souls at each level. In a situation where only one's martial soul was used, a fourth firmament venerate could easily defeat a third firmament venerate. Not to mention that his opponent was only a second firmament venerate. There was no hope against him. It could even be said that he could kill him in an instant. However, in the next moment, he couldn't laugh anymore. This was because a green sword shadow had appeared beside Lin Xian. It was abnormally hazy, but it emitted a terrifying aura. That aura made his heart palpitate. Not only him, but even Dongfang Fengwang and the others who were hiding in the distance felt their hearts beat wildly. This is Lin Xian's martial soul? The group of people were shocked. The aura was too terrifying, and it made them feel powerless. Moreover, they realized that they had never seen Lin Xian use his martial soul in the previous battle. This was the first time. This brat is too strange. In the sky, Shaoli's face turned gloomy again. He had to act quickly. He couldn't delay any longer. Killing intent surged in his eyes. There was nothing he could do about it. The sword shadow was too terrifying. Its aura was not any weaker than his martial soul. He could not accept this at all. How could a second-level martial honored realm martial soul be compared to his? However, the truth was right in front of him, and he had no choice but to believe it. Die, brat! Shaoli roared angrily. He urged the purple python to charge downwards. This time, he wanted to kill his opponent in one strike. Humph! Lin Xian coldly snorted. He slowly stretched out his hand and grabbed the cyan sword shadow. An extremely powerful force erupted from his body and swept through the heavens and earth. This cyan sword shadow was naturally Lin Xian's dragon martial spirit. Boom! The cyan sword shadow waved and slashed forward with a sword light. As soon as the great dragon sword soul appeared, the heavens and earth lost their color. The attack power of such an offensive sync technique was extremely terrifying. That cyan sword chi was not only sharp, but it also seemed to have a soul. It was incomparably agile, capable of destroying everything as it slashed forward. What? Feeling the aura, Shaoli's face changed drastically. Previously, when the cyan sword shadow did not move, he only felt that it was terrifying. It seemed to be on par with his martial soul. However, when his opponent attacked, he was stunned. This aura, this attack, had completely surpassed his martial soul. How is this possible? His eyes were filled with disbelief. A second-level martial honored realm martial soul had surpassed his? This was crazy. Damn it, block it for me! Shaoli's face was ferocious as he roared. At this point, it was impossible for him to escape. He could only fight with all his might. He waved his arm and the purple python quickly transformed into a long purple spear. At the tip of the spear was a ferocious snake head that seemed to be able to devour everything. Thousand snake transformation, purple python battle spear! As the spear stabbed out, purple light shone brightly and lit up the entire sky. The spear was too dazzling. It was like a dragon running amok, and a terrifying force pierced through the void. Boom! When the two collided, an earth-shattering sound rang out. The purple spear let out a crazy roar and violently collided with the cyan sword shadow. The force was shocking. However, no matter how strong it was only a dragon. On the other hand, Lin Xian's cyan sword shadow was a real dragon. An earth-shattering dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens. The cyan sword she turned into a cyan dragon and swept out in all directions. Boom! The purple spear dimmed and Xiao Lai was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. What? Xiao Lai is injured! When Dongfang Phoenix saw this from afar, she was stunned. In particular, Bing Ling and the other two were shocked. The 3 of them had joined forces, but they could not hurt Xiao Lai. Now Lin Xian had only used one sword to make Xiao Lai spit out blood. This was simply too shocking. Damn it, I'm going to kill you! Xiao Lai was sent flying for 100 meters before he could stabilize his body. Then, he looked at the blood on his hand and his entire body became distorted. Humiliation, this was a huge humiliation. He had been injured by a second-level martial honored realm brat. This was unacceptable. Brat, you forced me to do this! Xiao Lai's hair was disheveled and he was in a frenzy. Thousand snake transformation, merge! He roared wildly. Then, he merged with the giant purple python in the sky and a blinding purple light burst out. Rumble! A terrifying aura surged and Xiao Lai let out an earth-shattering roar. In the next moment, he flew out from the purple light. After merging with his martial soul, he had become extremely ferocious. His eyes had turned green and his body was covered with scales that emitted a cold light. The most eye-catching thing was his arm, which had become extremely thick. His right arm was ferocious, and his fist had turned into a purple python's head. His left arm had turned into a python's tail. His entire person was extremely demonic. Brat, go to hell! Xiao Lai threw out a punch. The purple python's head was ferocious, and its blood-red mouth tore open the void easily. Not only that, the python's head formed a purple light pillar that swept out in all directions. It could be said that Xiao Lai had become more powerful after merging with his martial soul. However, Lin Xian was not afraid. He held the cyan sword shadow and shot up into the sky. 108 rays of sword chi surrounded his body and pierced through the clouds. Die! The sword shadow flashed, and the long sword struck out. In an instant, the sky was filled with cyan light and sword chi. The sword once again sent Xiao Li flying. Ah! Xiao Lai was sent flying again and roared into the sky. No, I don't believe it! He was about to go crazy. Before this, Lin Xian was still an ant that he could crush. However, after a short while, he could not defeat Lin Xian. This feeling of having his identity changed made Xiao Li go crazy. You don't believe it? Then I'll beat you until you believe it! Lin Xian's voice was cold. His body swayed and he appeared in front of Xiao Lai. The cyan sword shadow fell. Crack! Xiao Lai's pupils contracted and he clenched his teeth to form a purple light screen in front of him. However, when the cyan sword shadow fell, the defensive light screen was as fragile as paper. Chapter 897. Xiao Li's pupils shrank as he tried his best to resist. However, his defense was as fragile as a piece of paper. The green sword shadow fell and instantly split the purple light screen. Then, it landed heavily on Xiao Li's body. Bang! Xiao Li flew backward. Half of the bones in his body were broken. Fortunately, he had the purple martial soul's defense. Otherwise, the sword would have split him in half. In the distance, Dongfang Phoenix and the others stared blankly at the scene. They could not believe that Xiao Li, who was so arrogant not long ago, was now beaten up like a dead dog by Lin Xian. The contrast was too great. Xiao Li was also in a daze. His entire being was in a daze. To think that he, the mayor of Blackwater City, a dignified stage 4 expert, would actually be defeated? A touch of fear appeared in his eyes. He was finally afraid because his opponent had the power to kill him. Previously, he had been arrogant because he was able to crush Lin Xian and the others. But now, the situation had been reversed. Thus, his arrogance was completely gone. "Stop! I won't fight anymore. Spare me." Shaoli kept gasping for breath. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, "I don't want your half-Earth rank treasure. I don't want the crystal skull. I'll let you go and we'll call it a day." "How about that? Call it a day?" Lin Xian sneered. "First, the half-Earth rank treasure and the crystal skull are both mine. You have no right to say no. Second, call it a day? How is that possible? Why didn't you call it a day when you injured Bing Ling and the others? Now that you can't beat me, you come here and tell me to call it a day. Do you think that's possible? Then what do you want? What compensation do you want? Tell me." "Compensation? I've said it before. You bullied my companions. You can only pay with your life. Kid, don't go too far." Hearing this, Shaoli was furious again. He was like a crazy lion. "Do you know who I am? If you dare to kill me, even if you're a disciple of Senma College, you can't escape death. Threatening me? No matter who you are, you must die today." Lin Xian did not want to say more. He held the great dragon sword soul and walked forward step by step. "I'll kill you!" Shaoli's face was filled with madness. In the next moment, he burned the spiritual energy in his body, and a purple flame formed on the surface of his body. At the same time, his aura skyrocketed. "Die, brat!" In order to save his life, he didn't hesitate to burn his spirit energy. Although this method could increase his strength in a short period of time, the after effects were extremely tragic. He probably wouldn't be able to recover in half a year. Purple flames mixed with violent spiritual energy rushed towards Lin Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian took a deep breath and held the cyan sword shadow with both hands, pushing the great dragon sword soul to its limits. Then, he slashed with his sword. There was nothing out of the ordinary in the sky, but a sword shadow flashed by quickly. Then, it turned into an azure dragon, roaring ferociously and pouncing forward. Then, a terrifying sound rang out, and a dazzling light illuminated the entire sky. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions like waves. Everything in its path was reduced to ashes. "Not good, retreat!" Dongfang Phoenix and the others, who were hiding in a safe place, were shocked when they saw the energy of the sword wave surging towards them. They quickly retreated. They only stabilized themselves after retreating a few hundred feet. Then, they looked forward anxiously. In front of them, sword radiance shot into the sky, and thunder rumbled. It was a scene of destruction. After a long time, the horrifying scene gradually disappeared. The ground was full of scars and cracks that were created by the sword chi spread out for 1,000 meters. The nearby mountains and forests had all disappeared and turned into flat ground. "Lin Xian!" Dongfang Phoenix and the others exclaimed and quickly ran forward. Then, they saw a figure standing there. The person standing there was Lin Xian. Not far from him, Shaoli was lying on the ground with a transparent hole in his chest. He couldn't be more dead. Seeing the corpse, Dongfang Phoenix and the others trembled. Then, their eyes were filled with shock. Shaoli, a level 4 supremacy, was dead. Lin Xian actually killed a level 4 supremacy. The four of them gasped and then looked at Lin Xian with complicated expressions. Lin Xian put away the green sword shadow. Then, his feet swayed and he couldn't stand steadily. "Are you okay?" Seeing this, Dongfang Phoenix hurried forward to support him. Bing Ling and the others also saw Lin Xian's pale face. Their eyes were filled with worry. "You look so pale. Are you injured?" "I'm not injured. I'm just a little exhausted," Lin Xian said weakly. Indeed, the spiritual power in his body had almost dried up. His muscles were sore and his whole body felt like it was about to split open. Although the dragon sword soul was extremely powerful, the price he had to pay was not small. Just like now, Lin Xian was extremely weak. Exhausted? Dongfang Phoenix and the others were relieved when they heard that. It was good that he was not injured. They also knew that Lin Xian's combat power was too shocking. They thought that he must have activated some kind of secret skill. Now, it should be the after effects of using the secret skill. No matter what, we are safe now. Yang Lin sat down on the ground, his entire body relaxed. Indeed, the previous battle was too intense. Moreover, each of them had suffered serious injuries. They thought that they would definitely die when facing a level 4 supremacy. Now Lin Xian had solved everything. This feeling of surviving a disaster was so good. Alright, let's not waste any more time here. Let's leave quickly. If the people from Blackwater City find us, then the situation will be really bad, Bing Ling said worriedly. Hearing this, everyone nodded and stood up to leave. Lin Xian summoned the golden-feathered divine eagle and was ready to leave. However, just as they climbed onto the back of the golden-feathered divine eagle, a mocking voice suddenly sounded. As expected of the prodigy of Senmu College. You're not simple. You can even kill a level 4 supremacy. Hearing this, everyone's body stiffened and their eyes were filled with shock. Lin Xian frowned and quickly probed with his soul power. Who is it? Come out! He shouted in a deep voice. The current situation was too bad. Among the 5 of them, except for Dongfang Phoenix, the other 4 were all injured. Moreover, Lin Xian was still very weak and did not have much combat power. If he was targeted at this time, the situation would be very dangerous. Bing Ling and the others were also aware of the situation. They scanned their surroundings cautiously. Don't look for me. I'm here. The mocking voice sounded again. Then, the void fluctuated and a figure appeared in front of them. It was a young man with a slender figure. He looked at them with a cold smile. He was wearing a purple robe with the word Yen embroidered on his chest. Seeing the young man, Bing Ling and the others looked nervous and secretly circulated their spiritual power. Lin Xian's pupils shrank and he had a bad feeling. Chapter 898. Disciples of the Yen family, what are you trying to do by blocking our way? We are from the Immortal Martial Academy, please leave quickly! Bing Ling shouted. She naturally recognized the other party's identity. However, the young man merely sneered without the slightest hint of fear. You must be Fairy Bing Ling. You're indeed beautiful. Fairy, don't worry. We won't do anything to you. We're looking for him. The young man smiled and pointed at Lin Xian. Seeing where the young man was pointing, Bing Ling and the others fell silent. They then looked at Lin Xian with complicated expressions. Lin Xian let out a bitter laugh and shrugged helplessly. You've offended a lot of people. Dongfang Phoenix rolled her eyes at him. Bing Ling said in a low voice. No matter who you're looking for, we're a team. We came out together, so we have to go back together. I advise you to leave quickly. You can't afford to delay Senmu College's mission, Bing Ling said in a low voice. She wanted to use her identity as a student of Senmu College to intimidate the disciples of the Yen family. However, the other party shook his head. This kid killed a genius of the Yen family. Do you think I'll let him go? An eye for an eye, an eye for an eye. Fairy, you should know this. I advise you to leave obediently. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. Moreover, such a good opportunity doesn't come by often. The smile on the young man's face disappeared and was replaced by a murderous look. Revenge? Don't make it sound so righteous. Lin Xian sneered. Isn't this what you want? Then, he raised the Lone Star sword in his hand. It's good that you know. The young man looked at the Lone Star sword with a burning gaze. He had seen the previous battle. Lin Xian was able to fight a level 4 venerable to a draw with the power of the Lone Star sword. This was the power of the Lone Star sword. It was absolutely shocking. If the Yen family could get their hands on it, their strength would increase rapidly. At the thought of this, the young man grinned and said excitedly, Kid, hand over the Lone Star sword and I'll give you a quick death. You don't seem to have the right to say that. Lin Xian glanced at him with disdain. Looking at the disdainful gaze, the young man from the Yan clan's face darkened and his body trembled with anger. He was also a genius disciple, but now, he was being looked down upon. However, he did not make a move in the end. After all, the scene of Lin Xian killing a 4th-level venerable was still deeply imprinted in his mind. Although the other party looked weak, there was no guarantee that he didn't have a backup plan. He didn't dare to take this risk. Lin Xian smiled when he saw the other party's angry and fearful expression. Trash! Bing Ling and the others were also disdainful, their eyes full of disdain. Previously, he had been extremely arrogant. Now, he did not even dare to make a move against an extremely weak 2nd-rank venerate. If this wasn't trash, then what was? Good! Good! You're indeed a sharp-tongued fellow! The young man was so angry that he laughed, and his eyes were filled with ferocity. I'd like to see if you'll still be so stubborn later! His eyes were cold, and he decided that when he caught Lin Xian later, he would torture him to death to vent the hatred in his heart. In the next moment, he stretched out his arm and raised it above his head, shooting a ball of light into the sky. Boom! The ball of light exploded, and it was extremely dazzling. It was like a signal that flashed in the sky. Soon, the surrounding space fluctuated and violent energy surged. Countless black figures appeared around them. So many people! Bing Ling and the others' eyes narrowed when they saw the dense crowd of martial artists around them. If it was only the young man, they would not be afraid at all. Now that there were so many people, they could not contend with them in their current state. Humph, kid, I've finally caught you! An old voice was heard and it was filled with boundless coercion. It pressed down on Lin Xian. Lin Xian frowned and was about to make a move. However, Dongfang Phoenix, who was beside him, snorted and made a move first. A ray of fiery red light shot out and instantly tore the coercion apart. What's the point of bullying an injured junior? The Yan family is really shameless. Dongfang Phoenix was furious. Little girl, this is not a place for you to act presumptuously. An old figure appeared in the void and stared down with a gloomy face. As soon as he appeared, the surrounding crowd of cultivators quickly gathered and surrounded Lin Xian and the others. In addition to the old man at the front, 3 other figures appeared and stood side by side with him. They were all 3rd Heaven honorables, and their auras were powerful and mighty. Kid, hand over the Lone Star sword obediently. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape today. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Just catch him and kill him. An old woman in green said viciously from the side. You sent so many people to besiege me. You really think highly of me. Looking at the countless figures around him, Lin Xian smirked. But it's a pity. If the Lone Star sword were to fall into the hands of a shameless family like the Yan family, it would be a great loss. Hearing Lin Xian's mockery, Dongfang Phoenix and the others covered their mouths and laughed. Kid, you're courting death. The young man from before was furious. The murderous aura on his body turned into a sharp sword and rushed into the sky. Why? You're not convinced? Lin Xian sneered. Then come and prove yourself. All right, I'll kill you now. The young man was trembling with anger. He had been looked down upon twice. With his arrogant character, how could he stand it? Moreover, his opponent was extremely weak and could not exert much of his combat strength. He could kill him with his own strength. In a flash, the young man from the Yan family charged forward. At that moment, the old man in the sky reached out his hand to stop him. Kid, no matter what you say, you won't be able to escape death today. The disciples of the Yan family are all geniuses. We won't fight with a dead man. Hee, what a weird reason. Just say that you don't dare to fight. Lin Xian sneered. See, your elders don't think highly of you. Sigh, trash will always be trash. I'm already so weak, but I still don't dare to fight. What's the use of keeping such a person alive? I'm going to kill you! The young man roared angrily. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. he said to the old man in the sky. Elder, let me do it. I want to kill that little bastard with my own hands. Hearing that, the blue-robed elder's face turned gloomy, and he looked at the others. It's okay. That kid used a secret skill to increase his strength. He's extremely weak now. Even a first-level honorable can kill him, let alone a second-level honorable. Indeed, looking at his weakness, he doesn't seem to be faking it. The few of them quickly communicated and confirmed that Lin Xian was indeed extremely weak and could not exert much of his strength. In the void, the blue-robed old man sneered. Since you're courting death, I'll show you the power of the Yan family's disciples. Chapter 899. After saying this, that elder withdrew his hand, no longer intercepting him. Below, the young man smiled cruelly. Brat, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Remember, my name is Yen Song. The young man sneered and dashed forward. The long sword in his hand pierced toward Lin Xian like a venomous snake. This sword strike was extremely sharp, and the angle of the strike was very tricky. Very few people at the second level of the Venerable Realm could withstand it, let alone the extremely weak Lin Xian. He was afraid that this sword strike would take his opponent's life. Dongfang Fengwang shouted and wanted to intervene. However, a terrifying force shrouded her and restrained her. Not only her, but Bing Ling and the others were also shrouded by a terrifying force. It was obvious that the elder from the Yan family had intervened and restrained them. Just watch. I don't need you to do anything to deal with a piece of trash. Lin Xian smirked, and a cold look appeared in his eyes. Looking at the strange and tricky sword technique, he held the Lone Star sword and stabbed it out. Poof! Blood spurted out and a figure fell to the ground. It was the arrogant young man from the Yan family. His sword was still 3 feet away from Lin Xian, and it did not even touch his clothes. Is this the demeanor of a Yan family disciple? How unsightly! Lin Xian put away his long sword and sneered. What? In the sky, the few elders from the Yan family were stunned and they were shocked. Their opponent was obviously very weak. How could he display such a powerful sword technique? He killed their disciple in one strike. It was too ironic. It was a slap to their faces. Previously, they were arrogant and said that the Yan family disciple was peerless. However, he was killed by a weak second-level honorable in one strike. This huge contrast was simply too ironic. Around them, countless martial artists from the Yan family were shocked and could not believe it. Dongfang Fengwang and the others sneered. Even Yang Lin and Yi Yan looked at them with disdain. Your Yan family is so pitiful. You're such a big family, but you don't even have a genius in the younger generation. How are you going to survive in the future? I advise you not to fight over the Lone Star sword. You should focus on nurturing the Yan clan's disciples. Otherwise, your Yan clan's disciples would be the laughingstock of others. Lin Xian shook his head and sighed, his face full of regret. Mockery, this was blatant mockery. The elders of the Yan clan were so angry that their bodies were trembling. They wanted nothing more than to slap the other party to death. The young disciples of the Yan clan were even more furious. They glared at Lin Xian and wanted to tear him apart. They were all young geniuses and believed that their talents were extraordinary. They didn't put ordinary people in their eyes. But now, they were actually being looked down upon by a weak and injured kid. This was absolutely intolerable. Let me kill him! A young man from the Yan family slashed out with a strong murderous aura. Looking at the young man, the elders' eyes were filled with uncertainty. They didn't want to lose any more disciples, but if they didn't vent their anger, it would be too sullen. Moreover, although the young man before him was only at the second celestial level, his talent was extraordinary, and he could already fight against a third celestial level venerate. If they sent someone like him out, they would definitely be able to kill the other party. As for Lin Xian, he was extremely weak now. The attack just now was probably the last of his strength. This time, the other party definitely wouldn't be able to block it. Thinking of this, the elder in blue robes nodded. Seeing that the elder had given him permission, the tall young man revealed a cruel smile. He leaped high into the air and glided in the air like a beast. Then, he landed heavily on the ground, causing the entire ground to crack. Countless terrifying cracks spread out in all directions, and the entire ground was split into pieces. "One punch is enough to kill you." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. "The person from before was also very confident, but now he's lying on the ground. I advise you to get lost if you want to live. The disciples of the Yen clan are just trash. You're courting death. Tiger Flame Steel Fist." The tall young man roared and threw out a punch. Terrifying energy roared and gathered into a ferocious tiger. Countless flames burned on its body, emitting terrifying energy. This punch was extremely powerful. It was indeed comparable to a rank 3 honorable. Lin Xian's face darkened. He pursed his lips and raised his arm. Holding the Lone Star sword, he stabbed out. A sword she streaked across the air and quickly cut the roaring tiger apart. Then, the sword radiance shone and entered the tall young man's body. Pung pung pung. In an instant, the terrifying and vast energy disappeared. The tall young man's body was split into two from the middle. His upper body fell to the ground, while his lower body was still in the charging position. After running for dozens of meters, his lower body fell down. Blood spurted out and dyed the ground red. Cough, cough. After stabbing out, Lin Xian's face turned even paler. His body trembled slightly and he coughed out a few drops of blood. Silence, absolute silence. The entire space was dead silent. Countless people widened their eyes, unable to believe the scene in front of them. After a long time, the martial artists of the Yen clan exclaimed. The few elders in the sky also had hideous expressions. They were so angry that their bodies trembled. That was the genius of the Yen clan. He was a martial artist who could challenge those of a higher cultivation level. But at this moment, he was killed by an extremely weak brat. Their Yen clan disciple's body was split into two, but the despicable thief only coughed out a mouthful of blood. This huge contrast was something they could not accept. Lin Xian was expressionless, but he was roaring in his heart. He was indeed extremely weak. When he attacked just now, he endured the pain all over his body. Now, he felt as if his entire body was about to split apart. Fortunately, his willpower was strong, and he forcefully resisted the pain. Moreover, he appeared to be calm and indifferent. His goal was to anger the other party to death. As expected, the other party was so angry that she was about to explode. "Brat, I'm going to kill you!" The old woman in green had a hideous expression. She pointed out a finger, and a jade-green finger beam pierced towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian frowned. He turned his body with difficulty, and dodged to the side. This movement made the corner of his mouth twitch uncontrollably. His entire body felt like it was about to split apart. Whoosh! The finger beam brushed past his body. The terrifying aura pushed him back, causing Lin Xian to spit out a few more mouthfuls of blood. "Damn it, old witch! I'll kill you later!" Lin Xian gritted his teeth. Then, he slowly stood up and smiled. "Why? The young one can't beat me, so the old one has to step in? Today, even if you're shameless, I'll take you all on. Ah! I'm so angry!" In the sky, the elders' eyes were burning with anger. Their bodies were about to combust. They were too angry. This was obviously a weak thief, but he was able to avoid their killing moves several times. This made them go crazy. There's no need for the elders to step in to deal with a dying person. At this moment, a calm voice sounded. Immediately after, the void rippled open, and a tall and handsome young man appeared in the void. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.